our party tonight will once again set forth on their quest, looking for the Vault of Velkund Fireblood, hidden somewhere in these wintry ranges, thus their name. Tonight's stream is brought to you by Arcanicon in partnership with Arkenforge as part of our Dungeons and Distancing 2 online convention. If you're joining us from the convention, welcome. And if you're coming from somewhere elsewhere in the internet, welcome also. We are glad to have anybody along on this journey with us. So we hope you guys enjoy the adventure as it unfolds tonight. The Master's Toolkit software from Arkenforge is what's handling all the battle maps, the audio, and all of that sort of thing that you will see on stream tonight. Vault of the Living Flame will be a module that you will be able to run yourselves for your own D&D groups when it is released via Arkenforge a little later in the year, and also via a PDF from the online retailer, The Quest Suppliers. So I hope you enjoy tonight's stream and are excited for running the module yourself possibly one day. But for now, allow me to introduce you to our 4 epic heroes for this evening of most lethal cunning. Tonight we have Felix, who is playing the very optimistic Druid, first name Drew, surname Eid. Melissa playing the stoic Iris Crowley. Meek playing the studious Selby Quill Sharpener. And Stevie, who is with us, playing the good-natured Tackiest Ramor. Whence we were last with our heroes, the party had been travelling north, as mentioned, in search of the treasure, the mysterious treasure of Velkund Fireblood, a sort of ancient frost giant who had supposedly buried his treasure somewhere in this wintry land after having plundered it from other kings. And now the party, having arrived in Hillcult, let me throw it out to the players, or out to the characters, starting with picking a name out randomly. Selby, what does Selby remember from the day before, as far as Selby's concerned, but last week for Miek?
Selby is definitely feeling out of her depth for sure. I think that was her first kill last week, so she's really deciding if she has a taste for blood or not.
Sure.
50-50 on that one. But definitely kind of feeling a bit more out of the noble circles, I guess, and feels like she's actually living her life a little bit, which is a bit exciting.
Okay.
She doesn't want to release it just yet.
Perfect. What about Tackiest? What is Tackiest's take on the previous day's adventure?
Tackiest's take is that the culture up here is a little bit different than it is back home in his small fishing village, particularly the strange leadership dynamics that the giants seem to have. It's something that he's not used to. Mm-hmm. But he does respect the fact that strength and physical prowess are part of what got us through yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. Druid, are you enjoying the chilly north of Aurelia?
Drew's feeling pretty bummed out at his lackluster performance yesterday after trying to take advantage of what he thought was a good situation and then absolutely ruining everyone's plans. Luckily saved by the rest of the team in the end. But yeah, so Drew's pretty keen to kind of make amends, even though no one else might not be thinking that, but Drew in himself is definitely wanting to make sure today goes a lot better for everyone. Cool. And Iris, how is Iris feeling after almost taking on an army on their own last week?
She's wondering what the hell she's doing with this bunch of amateurs. And is just keeping her eye on the money. Yeah,
great. For context, if you weren't able to join us last week, the party had arrived in a village called Hillcult, a very isolated village in this boreal environment on the edge of a frozen lake. When they had arrived there, they discovered that the village had already suffered an attack from mysterious creatures that the villagers are calling Draugr, a creature that's kind of steeped in the mythology of Titans, also known as Goliaths. And nobody really knows what they are, but nevertheless, the Draugr have left the village, leaving behind a divided community between the Titan survivors and the rest of the common folk, such as humans, dwarves, halflings, etc. the Titans claiming Hillcult is their cultural kind of home. They want to drive the other common races out. And when the party arrived, you were aided by, or at least kind of instructed or given the situation on the ground level from Lorgi, this sort of strange Titan with flames that are tattooed up his arms and a serpent around his chest. Walks barefooted on the snow. Drew calling him Velkund Fireblood himself with a bit of a wink, which Lorgi said was a joke that he had heard before. But then instructed you or told you that what would need to happen for there to be peace in the village and for the common folk to survive, that you would have to go to the Obsidian Temple and confront Craw the Unbroken, who was basically squatting on the source of fresh water in the village. You were able to, after defeating quite a number of Craw's soldiers, convince Craw to allow you to, or allow you to provide fresh water to the rest of the villagers, with the one kind of caveat that Lorgi had to leave town. And Lorgi, carrying the snow globe, I believe given to him by Selby, if I'm not mistaken, walks out into the wilderness, taking that sacrifice upon his shoulders, so that Craw can continue to provide food and water to the rest of the villagers. Meanwhile, in the center of Hillcult's town square, there is this large obsidian shard that kind of, it's about 12 feet tall, maybe even bigger. It's this monument carved with runes and sigils and kind of patterns across it. It sticks out of the ground at an angle, kind of looks like, like the pointy bit of a sundial. That's the technical name for that part of the sundial, the pointy bit. As if, gesturing in a direction. And Juniper Longstride, the party's sort of financier on this expedition, has managed to realize that this is kind of literally a compass waypointer. It's not pointing north, it's pointing west. But Juniper believes that this will lead the party to the next place where they may find a clue on their quest to find Velkund Fireblood's hidden vault, or it may even point to somewhere where the vault itself is hidden. Currently, the party, we are the day after Lorgi's exile, and sure enough, fresh water is being provided to the villagers, although it is under guard from the other Titans who kind of bring it, drop it almost, and then walk back to the Obsidian Temple. So it is a terse peace between the two sides at the very moment. You are gathered within the town square, getting ready to head out on your journey. You each have 10 rations, exactly, no more, no less. This is assuming that you have managed to refill your rations from your journey to Hillcult, but the village is not really able to spare further rations for need of food to feed themselves at the time being. A lot of their stock animals, livestock and labor animals kind of killed during the Draugr attack. But with our party assembled, again, picking out randomly, let's jump to Tacius. What does Tacius look like, as a reminder for people that are watching?
Tacius is tall, broad-shouldered. He's got a long, curly red hair that's kind of wild. It catches bits of the snow and ice. He has strapped to his back a greatsword, and he's at the moment just making sure that his pack is properly packed. I think he's probably copying Iris a little bit, looking at sort of like how she's probably with militaristic precision, like packed her bag really well, and he's just trying to copy that.
Perfect. What is Tacius's kind of original motivation for coming out here? As you set out on your quest to search for the vault again, what is Tacius hoping to find?
Tacius is just hoping to be helpful. So, I mean, the money's nice, but he wanted to get out of his small fishing village, and when Juniper was like, hey, there's some coin, he was like, you're small and I want to protect you, so he came along. Okay, great, perfect.
Jumping across to Iris, what does Iris look like?
So Iris is shrouded in grey materials. She's got a hood quite far down on her face, some fabric covering the majority of her face. It's grey, it's worn, it's seen some time.
Sure.
She's average height, just under 6 foot, quite slim build, but strong looking. And yeah, she is, with military precision, packing her sack, making sure that what she needs or might need if they get jumped while they're traveling is close to hand.
Gotcha. Is Iris, I should say, are they a bit wary about the journey ahead, or are they hopeful? Are they excited to get back out into the wilderness?
Excited to get out of a town. This is
Sure.
not like her scene. She's in it for the coin and fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And retiring in a small village is not her idea of a good time. She wants to die in battle. And yeah, she just wants to get the adventure over and done with, get the money, and get on to the next one.
Great, perfect. And then gathered among you as Tacius and Iris pack their bags with military precision and maybe slightly less military precision. We have Selby alongside them. What does Selby look like?
So Selby is looking progressively through this adventure has become more disheveled, essentially. What was once a beautiful, embroidered woolen coat and scarf is becoming tattered and now just furiously bloodstained from yesterday's endeavors. And what was once, beautiful braided hair is now just chucked up in very more and more messy buns and things. Once she gets to a top knot, shit's gonna get real real messy. And she is still packing up her things as well, but you notice her books and things are starting to get a little bit more stuffed in as she's still slightly panicked and a little bit on edge in that morning as she's packing up for the day. And definitely looking a little bit wide-eyed and bleary still.
Okay, so Selby's definitely looking forward to getting out back into the wilderness, the unknown.
Loving life. Just really pleased with the choices she made to get here. But I think deep down is hoping that maybe she will still make a discovery along the way that'll make it all worthwhile. So some kind of new invention or new item or something she can take back to really make her own name. So.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's kind of what she's looking for, more so than just pure riches, but something that kind of a legacy, if you will.
Exactly. Yeah, spot on.
Perfect. And then alongside Selby and our other companions, Druid. What does Druid look like?
Druid is a tall furbolg. He's more lanky than squat, and he's got pale ice blue fur, but you can hardly see any of it because he's wrapped absolutely head to toe in an assortment of animal skins. There's bird feathers, furs, leathers, everything. And on his back, well, probably on the snow at the moment, picking up anything that anyone else kind of discards. He's stuffing everything into what is his backpack, which is a massive cauldron. He uses the pot lid as his shield and the big ladle as his walking staff and club in battle. And he's kind of just checking all of his ingredients, and if anyone discards anything or if he just sees something interesting on the ground, he's like, ooh, rock. Puts it in.
Yeah, perfect. What is Druid feeling as they're about to set out again, and what is their ultimate kind of personal goal in this journey?
Keen to get back out into the Arctic wilderness, being a druid of the Arctic Circle.
Mm-hmm.
And when Longstride came... or was preparing this expedition, Druid volunteered because as part of the Velkan's treasures, there's rumours that there is a very rare form of saffron as part of the treasure trove, and Druid really wants to make something with that saffron.
Okay, gotcha. Perfect. Alongside our companions has been mentioned once or twice, Juniper Longstride, the kind of explorer and financier. Juniper is a halfling. She kind of looks every bit the bear cub in her massive furs that she wears, especially when she pulls her hood up, which is all furry. She just kind of disappears inside of it. She has a backpack which she already has strapped on, and she is ready to go, and the backpack is taller than she is when it's on her back. Bow on one side of it, a short bow, and her quiver on the other side of it. And she, while she has those and wears beneath her furs sort of basic leather armor, she's definitely not a warrior or a fighter. She will fight if pressed to, but last week, or yesterday, I should say, for your adventurers, excused herself from any sort of direct conflict with the Titans in town, not really having a stomach for the potential battle and killing that may have, and in fact, indeed did, take place. Juniper being much more socially adept, perhaps, than Selby in being able to excuse herself from situations she doesn't want to be in. But nevertheless, at the moment, standing in the town square again, you have that obsidian shard that rises in the center of the village. You have the thatch-roofed buildings around you, the log hall, where most of the kind of, I'll use the word refugees, although they're kind of living within their own village, but displaced by the Drago attack, are going in, collecting their food, and staying out. You still have the blacksmith, which has kind of been a little bit more set up in terms of an elf who has gone and scavenged everything there and then has set up a little scrappy shop front to sell things out of. But Juniper turns to the rest of you and says, all right, we have 5 days worth, 10 days worth of rations, 5 days out, 5 days back, and hopefully we can find a few more things on the way. So I say we start straight west and see what we find. What for? I say let's head out. Are we ready? Does anybody need anything? We've packed our druid. You won't need that rock. You know what? Put it in.
Such a nice rock. I will bring it.
Okay, fair enough. I can't argue with that, I suppose.
Iris is already hefting her pack onto her back and starting to walk.
Great.
Akius is doing the same.
Great. How's Selby going at this moment as people start to file out of the village?
There's a brief moment where I think she just has a second thought about maybe she could just wait till you guys get back. Like there's a brief where everyone's like a few steps ahead before she finally kind of does a few like positive self-affirmations and follows behind at the end before trying to catch up.
Gotcha.
Drew maybe scoops you up and just puts you on top of his back as you're there trying to make your mind up. Come on, Selby.
Actually, thank you. That's actually very helpful. I wasn't going to stay. I wasn't actually going to stay. I was just checking we hadn't left anything behind because.
Of course not. No, I have got everything.
Perfect.
You begin your journey outside the massive kind of monolithic dark stone walls of Hill Cult, south of the village, and then heading, or the city gates I should say, are south of the village, and then heading pretty much directly west. Juniper using her maps and charts and different things to try to charter a direction that will take you more or less exactly west of where that compass point in the village was pointing. And as you begin your journey, you have to first cross a sort of snowy tundra flat, wind cutting across the top of it. But it's very out in the open. It's kind of unpleasant getting just wind in your face constantly the whole way along, snow blown up into your face and along the side of you, until eventually, sort of around midday of the first day, you begin to enter the forest. First one tree, then a second tree, and then a third and a fourth, until eventually you're sort of surrounded by these pine trees. The winter forest fills a valley to the west of Hill Cult, mountains kind of hemming it in on the southwest and northern sides. And it is a place of quite ethereal beauty. As you move into it, icy mists kind of drift between the pine trees, tinted orange with the sun kind of overhead, glaring down between the trees. They definitely aren't thick enough to necessarily block out the sun above until you get deeper into the forest. You can see that snow hangs heavy from the tree branches and blankets the forest floor. Tree roots, rounded boulders, rocky ledges, and fallen tree trunks occasionally rise to the surface of the pure white landscape. And as you travel during the day, icy flakes often dance their way downwards from the sky above. The forest is very calm and very quiet, almost tranquil as you move through it. And despite the fact that it is very cold, you feel it on your faces and hands and any other parts of exposed skin you might have, it is peaceful at the moment. And you feel calm, maybe this isn't so bad. But the further that you go, there is no sound in this forest. There is no animal that skitters along the ground, no crunching of snow from hoof prints, no, only the occasional kind of gust of wind that passes through the trees. And by time it starts to come into evening, the forest gives you a sense that it's actually devoid of life. The first night that you stop, and there are a couple of things to note with traveling in the wilderness in the winter ranges, so you guys can tell me if you decide to stop at night or not, but bearing the following in mind. And I'm going to talk mechanically rather than thematically, just because it's the easiest way to communicate this. But unless there is always a creature awake to maintain a campfire, it will be extinguished within 10-20 minutes by the wind or the freezing cold. If a fire is not maintained during a long rest, each creature freezes and resting, and they must take a level of exhaustion at the end of the long rest. If you choose to travel during the night, it is so cold that each creature must succeed a Constitution saving throw or else suffer a level of exhaustion. Creatures that are naturally adapted to cold climates automatically succeed the saving throw, as do those that have resistance or immunity to cold damage. I'm not sure if that's any of you in the party. But Juniper's definitely keen to kind of, not that she's commanding this expedition per se, but she's definitely keen to sort of settle down during the night if you guys are happy to. What would you wish to do? Push on or go to ground?
Settle in. Settle in.
What does the campsite look like? Sorry, go ahead, Iris. What does the campsite look like as you guys set it up? What are you kind of doing that evening? Are you in high spirits or low?
Drew has mold earth, so very much, and comes from the Arctic, so knows the value of like creating indents and making sure that the fire's light's reflected, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. He's also on the lookout for mistletoe, because then we can feast upon good berries. Okay. Rather than meager rations.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'll just...
Make a survival check for me.
Oh yeah. +5. Oh, 9.
Do not find any mistletoe on the first day.
Iris is looking for firewood and sort of any branches that can help create a bit of a windbreak.
Sure.
And trying to find a water source.
Okay. Make a survival check for me also.
Not my strong point. 10.
Okay. Finding firewood's not a huge issue, neither is finding branches that can kind of create a windbreak if you need it. However, a stealth check failed on the background there, Felix. But nice try. Finding a water source, like, any puddle, anything that's so big as a puddle is like frozen solid, and not really suitable for being able to drink from at this time. Nevertheless, you get the branches for the firewood kind of dried out by the wind and are able to use those. Absolutely no problem.
I think Selby's is going to be trying to sit down and sketch out a little bit of where we've come from. She's definitely not a nature. I have no idea what's happening in terms of the rest of it. Just trying to stay close to the fire and just talking to Juniper and trying to get more info on, comparing notes and stuff and trying to get her mind in the game a bit.
Yep, gotcha. Perfect.
And Tuckius will just be fetching and carrying anything that Druid needs or that Iris is wanting to get back to camp. He's just going to be fetching big sticks, moving big boulders. Yeah.
Perfect. That night, Juniper kind of sits down and she sits by the fire and recites to herself the same poem that she's been doing this whole time. I'll tell you a story of lands long forgotten where giants once roamed. They were tall as the mountains. Their leader was Velkund, a flame were his eyes, and in conquest he led them to fortune and glory. His enemies pursued him, jealous of his power. His treasures denied them, locked up within his vault. And as she swaps, Juniper, notes with Selby, is kind of interested in the extra tidbits that are being learned along the way. That obsidian shard again being carved with ravens and kind of telling stories of how ravens were messengers between the gods, and that she's very optimistic about where they're going. She says, perhaps, Selby, you'll make that great discovery yourself one day after all. I mean, who knows what we will discover going off the beaten path like this.
Well, I feel like at the moment we're definitely going for great things. I mean, how are you feeling this expedition's going? Is this what you anticipated? I mean, you didn't really join us yesterday in I know you're not really the combat type person, but do you feel this is successful? Like, I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Look, I have to admit that the circumstances in Hill Cult when we arrived were certainly not anticipated, although I do admit that I know that Titans can be quite unwelcoming to outsiders. Actively xenophobic, I wasn't certain of, but I'm quite optimistic now that we've set off again, and who knows, if King Craw is as ambitious as he appears to be, any treasure that we bring back, I mean, there should be plenty of it to share with him and the other Titans. I'm sure he'd welcome us with open arms by that point.
Takius is probably mid-chew in one of like the hardtack rations, and he's just gonna turn to Juniper and say, is that song you've been singing about the same King Velkund that this place we're going to is? I've only just put that together.
Yes, just to clarify for myself, Juniper just said King Craw, not King Velkund, right? I didn't mess that up.
No, I meant going back to the song.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I just wanted to double check. She kind of nods and says, yes, indeed, the story goes that Velkund Fireblood gathered all this treasure to himself from distant lands outside of the Winter Ranges, and jealous of his power, as the song goes, the other kings led their armies against him, eventually slaying Velkund. There are two versions of the story. One tells that Velkund locked his treasures away to deny it of the other kings out of spite so that they would never find it. And another version says that the kings locked it away because they did not wish to be seduced by gold and treasures as Velkund had been. I'm not sure which is true, or even if either of them are true. The stories have a habit of changing as the centuries go by.
That is a fascinating story.
I think so too. And she kind of like gets closer to Takius, opens her notebook, and you can see that it's a lot of halfling and common translated to giant runes and back and forth. And she's just, and then there was a version of the story where Velkund was just a mountain. It's not tall as the mountains, but literally they are mountains in the story. And then there's and she's
Are there
just like
any
super
pictures in this book?
Not really, no.
Takius's eyes are going to glaze over, and he's going to be nodding politely and smiling and keep chewing through his hardtack. But yeah, he's not entirely following.
Okay, great. The evening goes on. Nothing jumps out at the party this first evening. If you do set a watch, and of course, as mentioned, you'd almost need to just to keep the fire going. Each of you just get the crackling of the fire as your only kind of company, and the sound of the wind through the trees quite hauntingly. But eventually morning comes and the ethereal beauty of this forest returns, especially as the mists kind of cover almost everything in and out, and then go from this silvery blue hue into this bright golden hue the moment the sun breaks over the top of the mountains. Continuing your journey forward, I'll get everybody to cross off one ration for the first day. Then a second ration for the second day, as well as you spend the day traipsing through the forest. Nothing comes up, nothing untoward. On the third day, during your travels, the wind starts to pick up around the middle of the day. and goes from being just this constant kind of quiet gust into being something quite a bit stronger. You can hear kind of the aching branches of the trees. Snow begins to get kicked up in the wake of the wind. There are snowflakes that are falling down quite heavily, but they fall at a bit of an angle. And you can feel that the weather's starting to turn potentially quite dicey. Juniper, who, unless anybody insists on kind of going ahead, she very much wants to be close to the head of the procession as you guys move through the forest, starts to become antsy, turns to you all and says, "This weather's starting to look, frankly, dangerous, but if we delay, we could run out of rations before we find anything. We need to use our time as precisely and wisely as we possibly can. But I am at your expertise. Should we stop and shelter until tomorrow morning, assuming this storm lasts that long, or should we press on and try to get a full day's journey out of today?"
I have, upon level up, however we say that in-game, taken Druidcraft, so I create a little globe that shows me what the weather's going to be like for the next 24 hours.
Okay, cool.
See if this storm's going to get bad or not. Also in the morning I made some little... I made some snacks. I gave one to Selby and one to Iris. You can eat them at any point today and get 2 bonus hit points.
Hey.
Nice.
Well, thank
That's
you.
great.
Yeah, so I create a tiny harmless sensory effect that predicts what the weather will be at your location for the next 24 hours.
Okay. As the orb appears, and is it golden, you said, when it first kind of emerges?
It mimics whatever the weather's going to be.
Okay. It pretty quickly goes white, like from that gold to like a misty sort of cloudy white. And then from there starts to get darker and darker until it's a very dark, kind of heavy grey inside the orb. And you can see if there is a mistiness inside of it, it becomes very disturbed, very choppy. And you get the sense, reading the orb, that the weather is going to be very poor for at least a period of the next 24 hours. Possibly a reasonably short period, but you would suspect the rest of the day into the evening.
Oh, this is not good at all.
What should we do? Should we stop? Should we keep going?
If what I see is correct and the weather's going to get worse, we should look for somewhere to shelter. Are there any caves around or overhangs? Has anybody seen anything?
Looking around, Selby, what's your reaction to hearing this news?
Selby is just like, just looking around again, wide-eyed, like trying to instantly look for like a hut or something that is probably not going to be there, but just, and furiously going through her spell book again to just check there's not like, you know, she hasn't suddenly learned of something about a mansion that can pop up.
Sure, gotcha.
That she's heard of this spell, and just checking it's not in there. No, she's just, looking bewildered.
Okay. As you glance around, kind of looking for somewhere to shelter, you unfortunately don't find a hut or a mansion in either case, but you do spot a tree that kind of spiders up from the ground with its roots going down all around it, kind of raining as if to create a burrow that you could probably climb into. It looks like it would be large enough just about for everybody to get inside, although it would be a cozy kind of fit. Probably burrowed out by an animal at some point, but hard to know at the moment. It is sort of semi-filled with snow.
As I see Iris kind of looking around, I kind of point to the tree and just kind of, is that...
I guess we can go there, yeah. Are there any other trees in the area that look like it, or is it the only one that looks like this?
Make for me I'm just checking Iris's passive perception 12. Make for me a nature check. I know it might not be for your forte, but just in terms of gauging.
I can assist
16.
with a nature check.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
16.
16. Okay, cool. As you look around, there are a couple of these trees. I'm not a tree expert to know myself to know exactly like what type of tree it would be, but it is a bit more oaky sort of looking compared to some of the pine trees around. So it's got open branches and kind of, more spidery roots than a pine tree might have. But as you kind of glance around, you spot a couple trees, and Druid might point some of them out as well, go like, there's one. So while not all of them have this particular kind of burrow beneath them, you do spot similar trees in the area for sure. It's not isolated and on its own.
Cool. I'll start shoveling out the snow.
Okay, cool. What's everybody else doing at this point?
I'll look around for some mistletoe again.
Make a survival check. We can also assume you've been looking throughout the day.
Better this time, 21.
Yes, you do manage to find some mistletoe. As you searching around through the wilderness, find a kind of sprig of it, definitely enough for what you need it for.
And then, I'll be helping scoop out. I also noticed furbolgs have this thing where you can talk to trees, but you can't understand them. So I'll just be like telling this tree that we just need to take shelter under it for a bit. Like, oh, hello, tree friend. We just need to take a shelter for a minute. Don't mind us. We will not do any harm to you.
I just love the idea of the camera kind of mid-shot, conversational shot on Drew while you've got the half of the tree, and then it's the reverse angle and it's just a tree, like nothing happens whatsoever.
Like, indeed. Oh, yes.
Is
Just
this the
holds
first
on
time
the
you've
tree.
spoken to flora since we've been traveling? I love it.
Yeah.
Great.
Getting down inside of the little burrow, you're able to get in there relatively quickly, dig out the snow. The storm continues to get worse as that happens, until once you're down inside of it, the storm gets really bad and starts just billowing snow across. Snow begins to fall down into your little enclosure once again, threatening to kind of like it's building up around your feet and ankles. And the wind just howls through the forest, really, really loudly, as it passes between the trees. As snow builds up, looking out kind of into the storm at different points, perhaps checking if it's clearing, you see kind of something moving through the storm. At first you might just think it's like a tree, the silhouette of a tree or something through the blinding fog and wind and snow, but note that it is actually moving at a bit of a click, kind of almost perpendicular, is that the word I'm looking for to you, kind of at a bit of a 90-degree angle to where you guys are currently hiding or where your path was, as it just slowly makes itself through the storm, coming reasonably close or close enough that you can see it through the storm. Do you wish to do anything at this point?
I'll try and look at it.
Absolutely, take a look at it.
Cool. Make for me perception checks.
22.
21.
Okay. As you gaze through the storm, you can see that this appears to be a person. Just the silhouette of a person as the wind howls around them. They take one step, then another step, then another, kind of very slowly. They don't appear to be like they're shambling or waddling or anything like a certain not living creature might do, but they are dragging behind them what looks like some sort of implement. And you can also see the outline of a shield that hangs from their back. They're about 7.5, 8 feet tall by the looks of them, maybe even a bit taller. And you can see the silhouette of their head is not humanoid, but kind of points forward, conical shape like that of an animal. But the back of their head kind of branches out, almost like antlers, but like it's got 12 pairs of antlers, or maybe it's a bundle of sticks or something that kind of arches upwards. And this creature drags whatever implement it's dragging. It looks like it's a club or a stick, or it could be a weapon, kind of through the snow behind it, ambling through the storm as if it's a perfectly sunny day. And as you're looking at it, your gaze widens and you notice that it's absolutely not alone. There are at least 5, 10 more of these creatures that kind of amble through the storm at different distances from you that you can make out with different levels of clarity. None of them appear to be clothed particularly heavy in terms of warmth against the cold. A lot of them look like they're emaciated from the look of them, from their outline. And something else also moves out there. Something huge, as big as a bear, kind of hulking through the snow among these things, ambling its way towards the front of wherever these things are coming from and going. And off in the distance, hear a horn that calls like a animal horn, as if calling these things forward. And you see the one that you're watching closest to you turn its head slightly in direction of the horn, which is north, and continue kind of ambling in that way, even drawing up its object, which appears to be, again, either like a hammer or an axe, into its hands, and continues forward. Again, do any of you wish to do anything while this is happening?
I'm just going to look at Druid and go,
I'm going to say, and then turn to Juniper and say, Junie, do you have any idea what this is? Very softly.
She kind of imagine your two heads looking out the top of the hole, and then her head just kind of appearing up as she looks through the storm. Yeah, exactly. I have absolutely no explanation for this. Is what the villagers told us true? Perhaps. This matches the description of what they said happened to their village. I thought they might be mad. I thought bandits possibly, but those creatures do not seem humanoid to me.
You think they inhabit the storm?
Or the storm follows them. You might know better than me, in fact. You're more gifted and knowledgeable in this sort of magic, if that's indeed what it is.
I've never heard of this before.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Iris is just going to suggest let's go back down. Let's be very, very quiet until the storm passes. We'll assess the situation before we even think of leaving.
Sure. As you get back down into the hovel, get cozy with Tacius and Selby, these creatures seem to pass by. Once you're down in the hovel, you can't really see them, but you don't hear footprints or anything coming closer to you, just the howling wind. And that horn sounds a few more times off in the distance in the far north through the wind. And then he's gone, and these creatures are gone for an hour before the storm finally begins to slowly settle. As it does get towards dusk and evening, but eventually all that's outside of the hovel is just drifting snowflakes kind of flickering their way down like falling leaves to the forest floor.
Well, I guess we're stuck here for another night. Can we light a fire in here?
I do not think our tree friend would like that very much.
I think we're possibly too close, maybe, to start a fire. This whole time when this has been happening, I'm gonna say Selby's had like a little kind of metallic egg, and what was once giving out like this cinnamon scent is now giving out like what the fantasy equivalent of Rescue Remedy is, just like lavender and like calming. So she's just wafting it around the tree. But I don't think a fire would be quite sufficient right now. We may have to go, or maybe you could go out, Iris, and check that there's nothing else out there, and then we could come out.
Sure. I mean,
Hold
nothing
back.
bad happened the last time I went and did that.
No, if we
And
if we
Iris
need,
starts to walk out.
I'd grab you by the back of the shirt just quickly and I say, I have the ability to send our companion out if we really need to keep an eye on
Oh,
Well, that sounds a lot better than me just going and putting my head on the chopping block. Please.
Precisely. Before I do that, I'll use the mistletoe to create 10 good berries and give everyone 2.
Okay, great.
If you eat one of them, you don't have to eat for the rest of the day. And yeah, I will then grab one of the, it's like one of the furs on me, but it's actually a bundle of owl feathers, and I kind of throw it, and in the air it turns into a white owl.
Perfect.
Which is the same as the Find Familiar spell, so I can see through its eyes and stuff like that. So I'll just fly up and stay kind of up and out of sight and follow along for these things. I think it lasts an hour, so I'll follow it for half an hour.
Okay. Is this immediately after they've gone, or is this when the storm passes sometime later?
This is to stop Iris walking out of the hut that we've created. So whenever that was happening.
Okay, cool. Just
when
for
the storm had subsided, yeah.
Subsided. Okay, so they've passed by some time. But nevertheless, when the owl goes up and out and kind of begins to scout for you, when it goes above the tree line, you can see to the north of you the storm, as if, have you ever seen photos of old country towns in Australia when a dust storm is coming and it's just a wall? You kind of see that, but off in the distance. It's still overcast above you. It's still quite dank and dark and grey, but you can see that it's also not an entirely localized, it's not like a dome of snowstorm kind of moving, but it definitely looks like, it's kind of swept through and is moving on, and you can see the storm, a couple of kilometers away, still kind of continuing to kick up snow and dust and things from the ground. You can hear the distant kind of howling of the winds as well. And the owl can see on the ground the tracks of these creatures are mostly completely filled in from the snowstorm, but just the number of them have left kind of almost slipstream, like a river, or a boat moving through the water. These grooves through the snow that cut the path and show the direction these creatures were moving in.
Are they heading north?
They are. They appear to have come from sort of roughly south and heading north, almost, like I said, at a 90-degree angle to your trajectory from east to west.
I think we are clear.
Cool.
Well,
so we having seen Drew, have this beautiful owl, I try and do the same thing with nuts, but it's just this clanking metal where all it just goes, and can only go 120 feet anyway, so it's actually useless, but, just try to stay involved. Oh, I need to work on that. I want it to look, that looked very amazing, Drew. That was quite impressive.
Oh, it is magic.
I think I'm going to reach out and pat Nuts and go, he's such a good boy.
So amazing. Just not quite as soft as an owl, it turns out, but it was a good try. Science is magic, I say. It's a really combination of the two, but nevertheless.
Well, if we want to survive the night, we need to have a fire. Tak, do you want to come and help me find firewood?
Yeah, I love finding sticks. Let's go.
I love finding sticks. Amazing.
I was not prepared for that. We go and find some sticks.
Yeah, great. Perfect. So the stream
By
are
sticks,
aware.
I mean logs.
Right, yeah, sure. Picking them up. So the stream are aware why we're cracking up. Tacius was described just before we started as a golden retriever. The only reason I didn't use that descriptor is I didn't want the stream to think Tacius was literally a golden retriever. But I love this idea that Tacius is a golden retriever in humanoid form, just kind of bouncing around.
Look, someone cast True Polymorph on him, and
Yeah, exactly.
Only Druid can talk to you because you're actually a beast.
Cool. Are you setting a campfire here in the burrow? Do you want to try and travel an hour before sunset? What do you want to do?
It's not dark yet.
It's getting, like, you don't have long, so it's up to, like, you know, it's almost pedantic. It's almost more a question of, because Druid said that the tree might not like the campfire being set beneath it, whether the rest of the party are concerned about that or not. You could travel an hour kind of deeper into the forest, or not. It's up to you.
What do you think, Druid? Should we stay the night here?
If we're going to stay the night here, I can mold earth and create a small oven with a chimney that takes the heat and the smoke away from the tree. If we have time to prepare, I can make this quite a comfortable little place to spend the night.
That sounds like a great plan. Everyone else?
Sounds
Juniper gives a
perfect.
thumbs up.
Yeah, sure, why not?
But
Cool.
what is this engineering feat you can do with? You can now make chimneys.
Oh, it is once again magic, and can scoop out the earth, and I say like this, and like 5 feet of earth near me just like moves 5 feet somewhere else, and I scoop out a little oven in the wall, and then like some dirt falls down, and then I scoop that out, and like if you walked over and looked, there'd be a little chimney going up, and
Amazing.
that's where we put the fire.
Sylvia's questioning all her time spent at, like, you know, artificer school to, like, engineer stuff when she could have just been learning magic.
Sorry, you have a PhD in what? What is a PhD?
Yeah, a little bit. Right. I can just make it smell like cinnamon. That's my contribution
I love
to the
cinnamon.
hut. Great. That's where artificer school got me.
It turns out though, Selby, you did spot a cottage after all, a little hut, as that's virtually what is made on the base of this tree.
Yeah, it's all about affirmations. You put it out there and it comes back to you.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Elijah provides. You spend the night beneath this tree. You don't need to cross off a ration, considering the good berries, if you choose to eat them. Are they 24 hours, or are they like a couple days? that
Yeah,
they're good for?
they last 24 hours, so we'll have one for today, and we can eat another one tomorrow, and then if I find some more mistletoe, can cast again tomorrow.
Okay, great. Juniper is so excited by these good berries for the pure reason, like the practical reason. She's like, we can go so much further now. We don't have to turn back tomorrow or the next day. Oh my god, you've just solved so many problems. She's so excited about this. And then the morning comes. You continue, unless you guys tell me otherwise, unless you wish to inspect the tracks or anything like that, or you think that, nah, let's just stay away from those things, which is totally fine as well.
This morning, the snacks that I made from my chef feature resemble tiny dog treats, and I give one to Tag, and the other one to Nuts.
Perfect. Traveling west on this, the fourth day, I should say. Again, a fairly uneventful day of travel. What does it look like when you create camp the next night? Is it a similar sort of hollow in the ground used by Shape Earth, campfire in the middle, everybody kind of around that? Is that what I'm hearing? Finding a bit of a knot of trees to protect you from the cold and the wind. The next morning after that, the 5th day of the travel, which Juniper's like, uh-oh, we better start turning around. Make a quick survival check for me, Druid, assuming that you're looking for mistletoe again the next day.
Yeah, a
I'm
bad
proficient
one.
in survival, so I can help.
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
go
that'd be
for it.
great. I'm like, Tack, see this? See this? Fine. 15 total.
On this day,
sorry,
it is 14. You are not able to find any on this day. Finding these supplies incredibly difficult. You note that there's not even like, you know, normal snowberries or, you know, anything that looks particularly tasty. A lot of the trees look like they're almost made of stone more so than actual living bark.
Woof.
On that. On that, the morning of that fourth day, as the group of you are kind of starting to clear up your camp and starting to move on, or getting ready to move on, you do hear kind of like the snap of a twig. Moving you guys around as the tokens on the map. And when you turn, you can see very close at hand, like within 10 feet of Iris, is this huge wolf that is snowy white and just appears to kind of almost like, you know, nobody has it in their eye line when it appears, but you'd swear it just melted up out of the snow in reverse, like just, you know, formed up like the T-1000 out of the snow. Stands there as big as a horse. This thing is perfectly white, snowy mane, standing opposite or very close to where Iris is, as I said, kind of teeth bared, growling, looking ready to pounce. What is it that you would all like to do at this stage? As I just move the map down to be able to see this. Oops.
I'm just gonna turn this greatsword.
I'll like gesture you down and use my, what's it called? Racial traits. Speech of beast and leaf. So I can communicate with, though not understand, beasts and plants and have advantage on charisma checks to influence them. I'll just say, "Whoa, there, big friend. We are not here to intrude on your lands or to steal any of your game. We are merely passing through."
What language is this in that you speak?
I think that would just be in, I mean, let's say Druidic, because it's a language that I have.
Okay, cool.
And it just says that animals can understand me.
Yeah, okay, cool, no problem. As you say this to the animal, it turns its head from Iris, who it's looking at. You can see that it's prowling sort of quite close to Iris as it emerges between these tree and the rock. Looks back to you, Druid, and speaks in a sort of broken but nonetheless very understandable to all of you common, and says, "You may not have meant to intrude, yet here you are. You smell so fresh." Druid, do you have nature as a skill?
I do.
Okay. This thing looks emaciated to some degree. You can see its ribs sticking out even through its shaggy white fur. You can see it's got patches of fur that appear to be missing. It looks very hungry as it sort of, you know, fluffs up its back. Gets its heckles up, as they say.
I assure you, my friend, we are more than the trouble. It would be biting off more than you can chew, to put it lightly.
Make an intimidation check.
7.
Okay, chill. The wolf turns its head towards you and says, "Oh, I can chew quite a lot. Especially now. I can already taste you from the smell, Furbolg." And kind of continues to growl as it prowls kind of a little bit further forward.
Iris is going to pull her longsword and just look at the wolf dead in the eyes and go, "Turn around. This is not your fight. Go find something else to eat."
It's 5 against 1, friend. The odds are not in your favor.
It turns its head to you and says, "Is that what you think?" "I assure you, we are a pack very large, and we surround you, all 5 food sources."
Then that means you need to share the food with your pack. That doesn't sound like there's enough meat to go around.
"We'll take what we can get."
I don't suppose you know where there's any mistletoe. Then I can give you a hearty meal and we can all go on our way.
Make a persuasion check for me.
11. Rolling good.
Okay. It turns its head towards you and says, I think you will make for quite the meal yourselves. And I will, at this point, get everybody to roll for initiative. Did anybody get 20 or above? 15 or above.
19 for
17.
Takius.
So I heard 19 for Takius and 17 for Iris, was it?
Yep.
Cool. 10 or above?
Yes, 13.
13, cool. Oops. 13 for Selby. Then for Juniper. Then, what about Druid?
5.
Okay, cool. Let me just find these things.
And you set of dice, dude.
I know, right? I've moved recently, and this is the only one I got. Maybe I'll start using D&D Beyond again.
All right. As this wolf prepares to pounce, the second one appearing there, which has snuck up behind you, and the third one appearing here, which is likewise kind of snuck up behind you, both act on a surprise round. As the first one leaps into there to attack, that would be Selby, and the other one comes across here over the rocks to attack Druid. I will make those 2 attack rolls as they pounce from behind cover. The first attack against Selby, which is going to hit, it is going to do 8 points of piercing damage, and I need Selby to make for me a strength save.
Ooh, that is not good. Ooh, 15?
Okay, cool. As this thing pounces on you from behind, grabs onto your arm, and then pulls backwards to try to rip you to the ground, your legs manage to hold themselves beneath you, and you kind of pull your arm out of this thing's maw, tearing the skin on your arm, but nevertheless freeing yourself from getting pulled prone. Then the one that is over pouncing on Druid.
Can I use my reaction? Am I within 5 feet of the wolf?
You are, but you can't use your reaction because it's a surprise round for these two.
Okay, sure.
As the other one pounces on Druid, which will also hit, doing 13 points of piercing damage on Druid, and I need Druid to make for me a strength save.
Strength save. Oh, natty 1.
Ooh. As Druid, you are knocked prone by the creature, knocking you down to the ground. That will end their turn for the moment, or the surprise round, bringing us back into the proper initiative, starting with Takius. What is it that you would like to do?
I am going to attack the wolf that's in front of me, basically, that just attacked Selby.
Yep, no problem.
I'm gonna rage as a bonus action.
Cool.
And that puts up my Storm Aura as well the moment that I rage.
Ah, yes. Yep.
And then I'm going to try and hit this bad puppy on the nose with my greatsword.
Okay, cool. Make an attack roll for me.
That is an 8, so that sucks. So I'm guessing that does not hit.
That is correct. An 8 unfortunately does not hit.
So when activated, one creature of your choice in your aura takes lightning damage. So it needs to make a dexterity saving throw.
Cool. And the aura is 10 feet of you?
10 feet, yep.
Okay, cool. Let me expand that out. That's quite an aura.
No, hang on. Yeah, so it needs to make a saving throw.
Cool. Alright, is it dex save?
I think so, yes.
It will not succeed that save.
Alright.
Go for damage.
Okay. Damage on that is 3.
Cool. Alright, on to that guy, bringing him down to that. Perfect. What does it look like when your Storm Aura is activated and hits them?
So it crackles out around Takius, and it's sort of almost like reflected in his eyes as well, and it is just sort of like arcs of lightning that seem to, like, what are they called? Those balls that when you touch them, like the bits of electricity go to, I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like that.
Cool. Leaps out, jolts it. The wolf kind of howls it out, but nevertheless holds its ground for the moment. Do you want to do any movement on your turn?
I'll probably move to... Actually, no, there's nowhere that I want to move to. I'm going to stay there.
Okay, cool. Cool. Which will leave you precisely there. I'm just testing that. Yeah, awesome. Oops. Bringing us to Iris up the top. What is it that you would like to do?
I'm going to whip out my longsword and go for the one in front of me.
Cool. Make an attack roll.
4.
That will not hit, unfortunately. As you swing the sword towards this thing, it kind of anticipating it as it looks like it's about to pounce. You swing as if to anticipate that pounce, and it pulls itself backwards. You can see pretty quickly that these things are, apart from the fact that they have language, very smart, much smarter than your average wolf. Any movement that you want to do, or stay where you are?
Would I need to use an action to pull out a second weapon?
No, not necessarily, although you wouldn't be able to wield a longsword and another weapon at the same time unless you've taken a feat to be able to do so.
I was going to pull out a hand axe and throw it.
You wouldn't be able to...
No.
Nah, not on the same... Unless you've got dual wield as the feat, you wouldn't be able to dual wield it.
Fighting.
As your fighting style?
Yep.
Doesn't allow you to wield weapons, dually like that.
Okay.
Cool.
Then I am going to stay put. I don't want it to attack me more than it is going to.
Okay, cool. No stress. Selby.
Okie dokie. I am going to pull out this cylindrical kind of tubular thing, and I'm going to try and cast Fairy Fire. And I'm going to try and cast it at the 2. I think if I'm correct, I could go from the wolf directly in front of me and across. That's it. Like if the 20-foot cube went there and then down behind them. That makes sense.
Yep, totally.
So 5 and 4. And so they both need to make a dex save.
Cool. Let me put that there, that there, that there, and that one there. So is that kind of like those being the borders of where you want the fairy fire to be? Cool.
Primo. Perfect. In case if there's any hiding in the bushes there, maybe?
For sure. What is your spell save DC?
13.
Neither of them succeed the save.
Hey! I was genuinely surprised that worked. Awesome. So anytime we attack them now, we have advantage.
Cool. Does that stay there, or is that the fairy fire kind of attaches to them from that cube?
It attaches... Oh, that's a good... Each object in the cube is outlined in pink, because that's Selby's signature colour. So anything that it hits in that cube now has this beautiful pink aura around it, but not the actual anything else, just the So, like, again, if there's, like, hypothetically wolves in those bushes, they'd be real cute and pink now.
Okay, cool. No problem. Cool. I will pull that one over to there as well. Make the... Oops, what am I doing here? Make the two of these pink as they become lit. And sorry, I know you just said it, but it's everyone has advantage on attack rolls?
Yes. Yeah, advantage
Cool.
on... Yes. As long as we can see it.
Yep. Do you want to do any movement?
No, because I'll get an attack of opportunity.
Correct,
if I
yes.
do. Nice try. No, thank you. I will...
Do you want to do any movement?
No, the gnome will stay where she is, thank you. But I will inspire Tacius next to me. I'm pretty sure that's Tacius to one side of me.
Yep.
And just with a really affirmative, just remember, nothing is impossible. The words themselves are I'm possible, and that's what you're going to do. Go fight, and you get a D6 of inspiration from the cliche wall sign.
On her turn, Juniper is going to pull out her short sword and attempt to attack the wolf to the south, the same one that's just been lit up. That rolled onto a natural 20 for a second there and then rolled away, but her attack will nevertheless hit, and she does... a fairly significant amount of damage to it as well. Is she kind of, being a halfling, and maybe this is the same for Selby, looks like a quail next to these wolves, little bones. So the wolf might not immediately notice her as she pounces up, stabs this thing with her short sword, doing that much damage to it, which is not an insignificant amount. The sword comes out of the wolf bloodied. The wolf itself is not bleeding yet, but definitely looks harmed by that attack. She stands her ground as well. She looks like she's tempted to try to flee towards the center of the circle, but she knows it's a bad idea. Bringing us to Drew. What would Drew like to do?
So I'm prone, right?
Currently, yes.
So I'll stand up.
Cool.
And I guess I will attack this glowing pink wolfie.
Yep.
Oh, come on, D&D Beyond. 11.
11 does not hit. The fur protecting these wolves as you... What is it you're attacking with?
Just my club.
Okay, cool. Club, but hits on the outside of
Trying
it.
to whack it, yeah, nothing. So then I will hidden step and bonus action turn invisible.
Mm-hmm.
And move like to the left, maybe.
Going this way?
Yeah. And then like one step further back. Yeah.
Cool, perfect.
Actually, yep.
And is it to the start of your next turn that you're invisible?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, no problem. As you hit the wolf with the club, kind of hitting it on the head, and then it begins to just growl at you again as it turns its head back towards you, and you disappear, turning invisible and repositioning yourself, bringing us to the wolves, with Drew having disappeared. This wolf looking fairly hungry, and by this wolf I mean the one that I'm now moving, as it changes its position across to here and comes after, pardon me, Tacius, making an attack roll with advantage. Wolves hunt in packs, and they are very proficient with the tactics of hunting as a pack, and so hitting Tacius with that attack, they will do... not bad. 13, which will be halved down to 6 points of piercing damage. And I need you to make a strength save, which you have advantage on while you are raging.
Yep. That is a 22.
Okay, cool. This thing kind of like tries to grab onto your arm and wrestle you to the ground, and you are just immovable. Standing there, refusing to move. This wolf, I keep saying this wolf like you know what I'm talking about. The white one towards the bottom actually turns on Juniper, who has stabbed her, and makes an attack roll against Juniper. It does not have advantage as it doesn't have the pack tactics on Juniper, which will miss. It kind of snaps, and after Juniper stabs it, she takes a step back and kind of furrows into the woodlands. Then the north wolf jumping at...
Can I use my reaction with Sentinel? So when a creature within 5 feet of you makes an attack against a target other than you, I can reaction to make a melee weapon attack against the attacking creature. And I'd still have advantage because of Fairy Fire. That is an 18 to hit.
That will hit. Go for damage.
That is 15 points of damage.
Okay, cool. That's pretty big on this thing. As you hit it with a battle axe that you're wielding, or a great axe?
Great sword.
What are you... Great sword. What are you aiming for?
As the wolf sort of like turns to go for Juniper, I sort of like try and cleave down the side of the wolf, aiming for vital organs if I can.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't manage to pierce vital organs in this attack, but it nevertheless scrapes across the side of this thing, kind of cutting into it, severely injuring it, if not mortally injuring it. And the wolf kind of yelps out and looks very suddenly unsure about its position from the mightiness of that blow. Then the one at the top, the north one, facing Iris, makes an attack onto Iris, which is not going to hit. As you manage to keep it at bay with your longsword, it dives at you after faking you out, and you manage to press your longsword back in front of yourself to parry the teeth and keep it at bay. Wolves remain basically positioned where they are as they kind of squirrel around, and that is going to bring us back to Tacius.
So the one that's looking really hurt, I'm going to continue hacking into that one.
Make an attack roll.
16 to hit.
That will hit. Go for damage.
And that is 13 points of damage.
Okay, cool. This thing's looking pretty messed up now. As you hit it, it's almost one after the other sort of strikes. Go ahead.
And with a bonus action, I would like to activate the Storm Aura and try and hit it again, so it needs to make a Dexterity DC 13 saving throw.
It does succeed the saving throw this time, leaping after you injure it the second time. Go for damage if it's half. What's the...
Yeah, it's half damage, so it's 4 halved down to 2.
Okay, cool. Leaps away from you, looking very harmed. In fact, you can see that it's limping as it retreats up away from you. You can see from the wounds that you've inflicted on it, crimson blood dripping from its pure white fur to stain the pure white snow beneath it. And the reason it dodges the worst of the Storm Aura is as it's trying to basically draw back and flee away from you. Bringing us to, unless there's any movement that you want to do on your turn?
Nope, staying put.
Iris.
I am going to go for the one that's staring me down.
Sure.
Oh my god, what is going on here? 6.
6 will not hit either, as you swing the sword at this guy. The two of you locked in this very epic mortal duel of teeth versus Zord, back and forth, neither of you being able to get between the others or behind the others' defenses. Any movement that you want to do, or hold your ground?
Hold my ground.
Great. Selby.
Okay. I was kind of hoping you guys would have taken care of this by now.
Yeah, wow, Selby. Wow.
It's like 30 points.
I was just checking all my healing spells and stuff. I'm like, that's okay, I can get us back. Cool. I will go with I guess what I have, which is I'm gonna try Shocking Grasp on the one that's near me. I'm gonna try and like boop the snoot.
Yeah, okay.
With my Shocking Grasp. Yep. Selby does not like getting into melee combat. Well, that's not too bad. 21 to hit.
Yes, that will hit. Go for damage.
Oh, 1.
You reach out to boop the snoot, and as you boop that snoot, the wolf seizes up as the current runs through its body and collapses into the snow with its 1 remaining hit point.
Kill Still Selby strikes again.
Any movement you would like to do after that?
Yeah, I want to get away. So can I like dash 15 feet diagonal, or actually back like the other diagonal, like away from the wolves?
Down this way?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Going 10 feet of movement there as you scramble over that tree, and then 15, 20 feet of movement as you get down to the other side of it.
Perfect.
Running over to there. Bringing us to Juniper, who is likewise no longer pinned down by a wolf. She moves to there, going 5 feet. Takes a shot at the one with her short bow that is haranguing Iris. That's a miss. Sorry, miss as in out of the dice tray is what I mean to say. And indeed, the attack was a miss as well. As she fires her bow, it kind of sails over the top of this thing, going 5. Then she goes 10, 15, 20, 25 into there. Yeah, cool. As she kind of like comes up behind Selby's shoulder to also take cover, kind of barely even aiming when she fires her bow. Drew, becoming visible again.
Becoming visible, I will create a bonfire beneath the top wolf.
Great.
So that's a dex save for it.
Which square specifically did you want the bonfire? Because it takes up 4 squares because it's so large.
Yeah, I'll put it just straight under its face, like its body, upper body.
Gotcha. Yeah, no problem. Let's put this bonfire right there. Shunt it to the bottom, but pull it out so we can see it. Actually, I'll pull it down this way. That is a dex save, isn't it?
Yes, please. 13, I believe.
Does not succeed. Go for damage.
Woo! 2.
Cool.
Fire damage.
Brings it down to that as the fire damage kind of rakes across the side of this thing. It yelps from the flame. It doesn't seem like it's cooked it or anything, but you definitely see the singed fur on the side of its neck. Any movement or stay where you are?
Can I, like, go around this tree and get up on the rocks to the north of me?
Yeah, absolutely. Going, let's say 5 feet to there, and then 10, 15, probably 20 feet onto the difficult terrain and the second diagonal as you get up onto there.
I'll keep the high ground.
Okay, cool. You could maybe move 1 more to there if you wanted to get within melee of it, but it's up to you.
No thanks.
Okay, cool. No problem. That will bring us to the wolves. This one to the south, which is still locked in mortal throes with Tachyius, growls at you as the lightning, the storm aura kind of sparks around it, and then opens its maw, and there's a sudden kick of wind around it, and you feel freezing cold kind of grip to you as a gust of like a localized snowstorm hits you. I need you to make for me, it is a dexterity save. You will have advantage from your danger sense. Danger sense!
That is an 18 on my dex save.
Okay, cool. You take from that... oh, that made it really easy. 20 halved from the save down to 10 points of cold damage.
I don't I don't halve cold.
No. It was 20 in total, but you succeeded the save, so you
sorry,
take half the damage.
Is Tachyius within 30 feet of me?
Tachyius is, yes.
I want to use psionic power protective field to reduce that damage further.
Okay,
So I
great.
throw a d6 and it reduces it by that plus
Okay.
1. So it's reduced by 6.
Perfect. The wolf on the northern side Seeing, what does it look like when you do that, Iris?
So I did it previously on myself, and it was a blue, like dome around me. When I do it on someone else, I just hold out my free hand, and blue shoots out of it, and basically hits the other person around them. Making the same sort of domed shape.
Okay, gotcha. The dome kind of catching some of that frost and ice. The wolf to the north shouts something out. It is language. Does anybody in the party speak giant?
Yep.
You basically hear the northern wolf, the largest one among them, the one that spoke to you initially, say they cast spells, run. He inhales and does the same thing. This one is just going to hit Iris instead. So Iris, I need you to make me a dexterity save.
Dirty 20.
Oh, nice. That will be 10. That will be 9 points of cold damage in total. As the frost kicks up across you, and then these things.
Gotta do protective field again because it's a reaction.
You won't be able to because you've used your reaction to do it for. Good.
How much was it? Sorry.
It was 9. 9 was the total cold damage. As this wolf then turns and begins to flee, going 5, 10, 15. Getting around those trees to there, and this one down here. Making sure I get all the little bits that he has. Turns around and does the same. I believe Tacius. Yep. Oh, you're gonna sentinel it. Okay, cool. Make an attack roll.
I still have advantage, right? Because it's verified.
Yes.
Good. That was lucky. 23 to hit.
That will hit. Go for damage.
Oops. I rolled the wrong thing. Hang on. 14 points of damage.
Okay, cool.
And it can't move.
Cool. It turns to move, and you step forward with the greatsword, smack it on the head, cuts across the back of its neck, splatters kind of like blood down onto the ground, and then this thing kind of like growls, whelps, moves away from you, and then as it kind of like struggles to find its feet again from the attack, turns its head back towards you, and you can see, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the concept of a wolf smile. Basically when dogs bare their teeth, but it's actually a submissive kind of signal rather than an aggressive one. And this thing's ears go flat, and it kind of whimpers with its teeth bared towards you in this kind of grim looking smile as it tries to go submissive in the moment. Ending their turn, bringing us to Tacius.
Tacius is... He's raging, he's not thinking clearly. He's going to attack again.
Okay, make an attack roll.
12?
12, just reminding you still have advantage. 12.
Yep, that was with advantage.
This thing kind of backs like right up as you try to press your advantage. It retreats on the ground as far as it can.
Okay. I will still...
Dex save for the Storm Aura.
Activate the Storm Aura.
Cool. Succeeds the save, but go for damage.
Yep. So it's 2, halved down to 1.
Cool.
Seems like the dice want him to get away as well. I do too as the player, but Tacius is raging and...
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. Iris, what would you like to do?
I want to move up to the wolf.
The one down to the south, or the one that's kind of gone?
The one down to the south.
Yep.
And I want to be to the slight north of it. Yep, perfect. And I am going to slash away at it.
Cool, make an attack roll.
Nat 1.
Okay. The snow, the ice, the early morning. Iris just hasn't quite had enough time to stretch their muscles, possibly. As you know, early morning, they're like, I can't fight before I've had my coffee. Swings at this thing, and it is indeed healing right up away from you guys, kind of curling itself up almost. Is that your turn? Any bonus actions or further movement?
I'm just gonna yell at it. Just a rah at it.
Kill. Easy done. Bringing us to Selby.
Okay. Seeing Selby has done enough, biology and studies to know that it seems to be submissive. I'm assuming, or do I have to check for that?
What's your nature skill or survival or intelligence? Any of those?
+3 nature, intelligence is +3.
Yeah, you could totally assume that you would know that passively.
Okay, so then I'm gonna call out and say, I'm slightly confused, friend or foe? Do we want to keep the wolf? Are we having a pet? Is this what's happening? Great.
The wolf, to give you a response, the wolf kind of calls out to you and says kind of in a low whimpering tone, "Please, I can show you the way out."
I will then... I will definitely... Okay, I will go towards the wolf then, and then I will cast... because no one spoke back to me, I'm going to cast Cure Wounds on the wolf.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to get out of this. I don't really want to attack it.
Did we talk about this last week? I can't remember. Having the DM get a character have Cure Wounds cast on them by a player character is like an achievement unlocked for a DM. It's like, yeah! Because it never happens, but... go for healing.
Okay. 1d8 plus 2. 4. 4 points of healing. As
Sure.
I touch my hands and look at Takius and Iris go, I am assuming the silence meant that he said he's going to show us out of here.
That. Cool. Cool.
Iris is just looking from the wolf to Takius and then to I've forgotten your character's name, I'm sorry. Selby. To Selby, and it's just like, fucking amateurs, honestly. And starts to put her sword away.
Okay. Drew.
Call out to the group. He said to run. They are defeated. I think we should take this one up on its offer to help. And I will also just... I'll maybe move down behind it so that it doesn't do any sneaky try and run away. Get down that far.
You won't be sneaky.
You get down to there if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, about there's good.
Kill. Kill. On their turn, the one that you guys just on the very edge of the fog of war continues off. And these things can move when they want to, as you kind of saw on the previous turn. So he is out of there. This one kind of continues to cower where it is for a few moments, looks at you, speaks common again, very broken common, and says, "You are lost, yes? Frecky can show you the way out, if you let him."
We actually weren't too lost, if I'm being... We know where we're going. We're going to find this this vault. Have you heard of this treasure vault of Velka, by any chance? Could you take us there?
Velkin's treasure vault, I know not where it is. But you are traveling west, yes, we have tracked you for a day. You're going to the tower. I can lead you to the tower.
Amazing! This is why we make friends. This is perfect. That would be amazing.
Can I just, for the record, as 6 seconds at a time are passing, how's Takius going right now?
Takius, sorry, I was waiting for his turn to come up, but
Sure,
he's going to be lowering his great sword the lightning is going to fade from his eyes, the storm aura is going to retreat back into him, and he's sort of panting as the rage fades and he seems to come back to himself.
Cool. Cool. Out of initiative order, if anybody else wants to do anything.
Can Drew just roll insight on this Wolfie boy?
Yeah, definitely.
Come on, 8.
Okay. What you've got nature as a proficiency?
I've got nature. And
Okay,
survival.
cool. So giving you the benefit of the doubt on that, being able to read animal body language pretty well. You're not sure. To be honest, you're not even immediately sure what this thing is. It's definitely not a normal wolf. It's more likely a monstrosity than it is a beast. Its ability to speak, to billow breath from its, or like a freezing breath. It's definitely, you've heard stories of creatures like this, probably, referred to as, winter wolves or wolves of the mountain or things like that. But to kind of meet one, you're like, oh, well, there you go. They're supposed to be not conniving, but cruel and quite cunning. But you do, like, just reading this animal's body language, he is quite kind of curled up, ears back, and that wolf smile, trying to appear as friendly as possible. So while he looks ready to pounce probably away if he were given the option, you can see that he is kind of in survival mode at the moment. The other thing that you can see is, getting a closer look at him, this wolf must be starving. Its belly is like right kind of like receded back beneath it. Yeah.
Iris wants to sort of go up to the head of the beast and stand as tall as she can over the top of it, but look it in the eyes and go, how do we know you're not setting up an ambush? Just trying to be like top dog, super dominant, intimidate the hell out of this thing.
Yeah, it says, it kind of like looks up at you and replies,
Frecky's friends have run away. Frecky have no more to ambush. Our pack is small. Only 3 of us left now.
Yeah, sorry about your friend there. That's on me. I wasn't sure. But can I heal it back? No, that has to be revived.
You kind of like turn and look. We just see in the foreground of the frame, it's like hulking body with like steam rising up off of it.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that one. But this is great. We can help you out. We can, I'll give it some of my rations. We had extra for the good berry. I'll give it like a day's rations of mine. Okay,
cool.
Yeah.
It eats those, like if you've got any dried meat or jerky, it kind of falls upon them pretty quickly. And then I'm assuming the fairy fire has probably dispersed by this point. It kind of like, once it's eaten a little bit, starts to like slink away, not as if to escape, but kind of says,
You follow Frecky. Frecky can show you to the tower, yes? Not far from here. Not far.
This thing's pretty big, right? Could I ride it?
Yeah, absolutely you could, for sure.
Right.
Almost any of you guys could ride it. Like I said, it's as big as a horse.
Frecky, how far away is this tower? Will we reach it on this day, or will another sun cycle pass?
You will reach it today if you follow Frecky.
Excellent.
Cool. You guys getting up behind it, Juniper kind of coming out of her hiding space, and then following along with Frecky. We do a side pan, and sure enough, you guys travel with Frecky. He doesn't complain when you climb onto his back, Selby, but you don't really get spoken permission at the same time either. But nevertheless, travel half the day. The forest begins to rise in front of you, and indeed it begins to kind of become more foothilly in terrain. You're kind of marching up slopes and maybe climbing short cliffs, and the wolf stops, sniffs the ground, moves on, keeps sniffing around itself, obviously the way that it's mapped its area. It says to you,
You are not the first to pass through here, no. Frecky helped another of your kind recently. Also very powerful. Friend of yours, perhaps.
Probably. We make lots of friends. What did they look like?
Kind of turns his head back towards you with his ears back and says,
Frecky, believe it. You are very friendly.
and then like begins to sniff the snow as he moves forward again. He says,
He
uses the word for titan, but he kind of uses like the giant word for it, Titharne or something like that. And describes him as being quite odd.
Frecky thought he was one of the starving to begin with. He walked with no shirt or shoes as they do, but he was boiling hot. Could smell it on him.
Yeah, we do know him. We're actually guys. And I'll turn around to everyone and be like, great news. Turns out that name eludes me right this second. Logi?
yeah.
Logi. Passed through as well, so he's doing well for himself. I think maybe we did a good thing. I think maybe he's now expanding his horizons, exploring new things. Good work, team.
That is good to hear.
That's very good to hear. I really like that guy.
Iris just goes, mm-hmm.
As you approach, kind of up the side of the mountain, eventually you can see ahead of you, the first thing that you spot is kind of like a staircase. Definitely constructed. The steps are huge. They're kind of 4 feet across, and each one 2 feet tall. They're not perfectly aligned either, and in fact they don't go very far before it just becomes a slope again, and then there's a couple more steps, and then it becomes a slope again, until eventually ahead of you, the snow drifts kind of burying the steps in ice. Eventually the staircase ascends around or up a slope to reveal a broken tower that rises sharply out of a slope on the mountain beneath the face of a cliff, kind of like a broken flag or something like that. You can see that the tower itself is crumbling down. There's a great kind of crack in the side of it, and appears to be the staircase passes beneath the tower and beneath that crack, which is 30 feet up, and goes around the far side, kind of out of sight. As you approach it, Frecky, with his ears down, says,
Frecky have got you this far. Frecky go now. Join with his pack. Yes?
Well, I mean, you don't want to stay with us. I mean, and I point to, Drew, he's a very good cook. He makes wonderful food. These two are very strong. This one has a lot of, and I point to Juniper, seems to have a lot of money. I'm not sure if you have any need for that around.
Frecky shakes his head and says,
Never understood your obsession with shiny things. If you have food for Frecky, perhaps.
Oh, of course. Here, have some more rations, and I give him another 2 rations.
Cool. He takes those. Frecky, very grateful, and says,
Perhaps Frecky stay.
I mean, can we just give 1 second, and I'll just get a team huddle. All right, team. I'm not sure. Do we want a pet? It's a lot of commitment. My sister got a pet once, and it was just ongoing. It was this whole thing. She thought it'd be really fun, and she couldn't go anywhere, and it took up a lot of time.
I have an idea. If no one else, I take out the last couple.
No, I have no ideas.
I've got an idea, and I just unhinge my long sword a little bit and go, we could butcher it, extra days rations.
I thought we could maybe eat its friend, but that would have been a little onesie nose.
Oh, we're going to... Okay.
No, it's Frecky. And I pull out the last couple of the last twig and leaf of mistletoe. Not enough for the spell, I say. If you find something like this in the forest and bring me back a branch of it, I will give you enough food for a meal. You will never have eaten so well. And then perhaps you can be our friend and stay with us.
Yes. Frecky agrees. Frecky will go and search for you.
Thank you, Frecky.
And he goes and disappears off into the forest. As your attention... Sorry, go ahead.
Iris just shakes her head, closes her eyes, and goes, "Oh my god."
As your attention turns towards this tower and the staircase at the base of it, kind of on the southern side, the break 30 feet up is about there. And as you approach, we are just going to take a short 2 to 5 minute break for everyone.
Do you think you can keep up this time?
Takis is just gonna blush and be like, "I'm sorry. I'll try better this time."
Kill.
Tiny steps this time.
I can absolutely cover that. Genuinely. It's my expertise.
What would the marching order be? Am I hearing Iris first, and then others behind?
Yeah, I think I'll take point.
Okay. Cool. Who would be just behind?
Probably Takius.
Yeah.
Kill.
Great.
Selby's just like waiting for somebody else to go. Would Druid be further up or at the rear?
Would you be on my shoulders?
Great. This worked so well last time.
It did.
Cool. I'll just connect your tokens as you kind of proceed in this order. Across the southern side of the mountain, and then proceeding up the steps with Iris going up first. Second being Takius, Juniper very excitedly going up behind, and then like a dad and daughter at the zoo comes Selby and Druid bringing up the rear. As you go up these steps, when you get to the top of them, you can see that they... Oh, you can't see anything, actually. Sorry, let me adjust that. You can see that they lead up into what appears to be a large hall. You can see runes kind of faintly scrawled on the ground, but a lot of snow billows in here because the portcullis that blocks off or seems to block off your entrance does not stop the snow from kind of going through into the chamber beyond. However, as you approach, at first glance, you might think you might not be able to get through, but pretty quickly, Iris, you note that there is actually one of the bars missing from the portcullis. It's a gap that's about 3 feet wide, kind of on the southern side here, where the bar of the portcullis is just like on the ground, not too far inside. And the bar is about 6, 7, maybe 7 feet above. It just looks like it's like twisted off from above to create a gap wide enough for pretty much each of you to be able to squeeze through.
Can I make heads or tails of the runes on the floor, or are they still quite covered?
You'd think you'd need to get into the chamber before you would be able to read them clearly.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just step in. Mm-hmm. Motion to everyone, just hold back for a second. Just step in, and get a lay of the land inside.
Okay, cool. As everybody else brings up the rear, but just staying slightly behind. You find yourself in a large hall, high kind of vaulted ceiling. You can see that a lot of snow billows into this area from the entranceway that you've come, but also from the south, as that appears to be open to the elements, most probably leading to the tower, which you just kind of followed the stairs around. The runes on the ground, at first glance, they don't appear to be arcane. They're giant. You can tell that, as in physically they're very large, but also they are written in giant. So I'm not sure whether you can read that, but you'd recognize the runes because they're everywhere in the Winter Ranges. There is, I'm just going to move your token forward so you can see a little bit more, but assuming you're still standing by the entrance, there are 2 exits to this room, both fairly large kind of corridors or tunnels. The first one heading north isn't completely pitch black as it heads in that direction. You're not sure, there's kind of like a grey light. It's much darker than the hall for sure, but there is a sort of very faint grey light coming down from that direction. This corridor here, you can see pretty quickly, even from where you're standing, it's stairs that descend downwards, and it is very dark. It kind of disappears out of sight at the angle that you're on pretty quickly.
Cool. I will turn back to the rest of the team and say, doesn't look like there's anything that's going to kill us right here. Come on in. And then I'm going to walk off to the east.
Okay, across towards this way.
Yeah, and just wait for everyone to come in.
Cool.
Yep,
There's
so
people.
I'm just gonna slide in.
Cool. Ducking your head, Selby, as you come in on Druid's shoulders.
Oh, what is these runes on the ground?
As you look at those, they appear to, be very faded, have taken, a fair bit of beating over the years because this place is not inured or closed off to the elements. But taking a look at them, you kind of gauge, and Juniper also falls upon them pretty quickly with her book. They say things along the lines of, although they are incomplete sentences, welcome travelers, something that's not like there anymore, upon the path towards the mountain. And Juniper, as she gets down and quickly reads these as well, she's like, welcome travelers on the path towards the mountain. This is it, we're on the path, we're on the right road. I think we might find something here. I wonder if the vault itself. As she starts to hyperventilate with excitement, and you can see she's buzzing around, looking around herself kind of wildly.
Juniper, I appreciate the I get this is very exciting, but we almost died yesterday, so if we could just really focus on just keeping it in the moment, maybe a small meditative practice, bring yourself back in the moment, and then, just make sure that we're really at our best.
Yes, of course. Caution is the mother of survival. I just made that up. But I'm sure that is why I have such stout defenders and experienced explorers, kind of pointing at Iris and Tachyius, and understanders of the wilderness, and Selby too, here with us.
Great, thank you. That was... I don't know if that whole speech was necessary, but I appreciate the sentiment. Let's go, team.
Are there any torches on the walls?
There are not. There are not torches nor sconces for them. These halls seem very, very old. And also, this hall is, 50 feet by 50 feet, or 40 feet at least by 40 feet as you look at it. This does not look like it was built for common folk in mind. You feel very small standing inside of it. The walls themselves are 30 feet high, with a massive vaulted ceiling. Iris, as you approach kind of that eastern corridor and look down it pretty quickly disappears into darkness. You have dark vision, don't you?
Yes, I do, up to 60 feet.
Okay, so you can see down into that darkness, but the corridor looks like it's suffered a collapse. So it's kind of caved in with heavy stones on each side that obscure your view of the far end of it. However, the thing that you notice pretty quickly upon approaching it is that it's pretty faint for the moment, but nevertheless, very present, especially because you have the cold on your back of this open door. There's a heat coming from that direction, as if someone left an oven door open or something like that. You can feel it on your face and hands and any other sort of bits of skin that might be exposed.
Upon feeling this, I'm going to turn to the rest of the group and go, I think our friend is down here.
Ah, Logie.
Oh,
You could say hi.
Shall we check the other rooms from here first before continuing?
Sure. And I'll wander up to the north.
Okay. As you head up that way, assuming at the moment, unless you guys tell me different, and please feel free to do so, you look up that corridor and it kind of slopes upwards into the mountain. You can see with your dark vision, again, I'll move your token forward, but without necessarily, assuming that you've moved down there quite yet. You can see that it opens into, there's an opening as if an intersecting corridor on the right-hand side of this one. And then at the end of the corridor, it disappears beyond your dark vision. You can't make it out clearly, but there's still like a semblance of light coming from that direction. It's kind of grey rather than pitch black up there. And it looks like it opens into another large hall or chamber, perhaps, that's kind of similar in size to this one as you glance up there.
Cool. I'll look at the crew and go, nah, let's go fetch our friend. We could do with all the help we can get. It looks like that gets a bit busy.
Good point.
Cool. Marching order as you turn towards this corridor instead.
Takius is right behind Iris.
Yeah.
Dynamic duo.
Cool. I'm going to assume this for the moment, unless you tell me otherwise. As a group, you begin to head down this corridor, and can see that, it is pretty collapsed down here. The stairs descending down into a blackened corridor obscured by fallen rubble and intense heat. Once you get into the tunnel, you can feel it all around you, kind of radiates from this direction. As you come down, you can see that the walls and floor in places are like melted smooth, and parts of the corridor seem to have become like formed into obsidian, as it's just black on the floor and the walls. The deeper down you get, you feel that intense heat kind of getting closer to you as you make your way downwards. And then again, continuing to descend until you tell me otherwise, to look at anything. At the end...
As soon as I see anything that isn't just rock, I'm going to turn and go, not our friend! Not our friend!
What does the group wish to do?
What did?
It's too hot for him. It's something else. Like Selby said, we almost died yesterday. Let's just find the safe path.
Selby, maybe you could send a nut down the hallway and have a look.
That's a fabulous idea, because I totally haven't forgotten that that's my companion that I carry all day.
You're sitting there playing like patty cake with nut. Oh.
I'm gonna still try and get like your owl trick though. I'm just gonna try and I've been practicing with nuts to try and see if they can be slightly more dexterous and try and throw nuts out. You hear the clanking. Click, 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 click. 120 feet.
Nuts, go.
They can go.
I choose you.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like one of those Lego things, it's like a ball, and when it hits the deck, it just unfolds into whatever it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Cool, no stress. I'm just making sure Nut has a field of vision. Are you looking through Nut's eyes as Nuts moves forward? Great.
Yeah. Oh, well, I can communicate telepathically with them. So essentially, they're telling me what they see in squirrel knees.
Squirrel form. Yep.
Yeah.
In squirrel knees, Nut goes down. Kind of like squirrels, no pun intended, between the rocks here, which you guys can climb over. It doesn't block the passageway necessarily. But when you get down to the end of the corridor, or when Nuts gets down to the end of the corridor, there are two massive iron-looking doors that kind of block off the corridor, so that Nut is, I was about to say not proceed any further, but Nut actually could go a little bit further if Nut wanted to, because these doors are open in such a way that Nut could probably squeeze through them. The iron doors are engraved with runes, as most things in this area kind of are. You don't read Giant, do you, Selby? No, okay.
No,
cool.
So I can't even, and because it's a telepathic thing, so yeah, I got no chance.
Sure.
But go forth.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna,
and there is an intense heat kind of radiating out of that room beyond. Is that sending Nut forward?
Yeah. Luckily, being they're made of copper or like metal, so they should be fine, right? Fine.
Sure. Well, that's a great theory. As Nut continues forward and can feel the heat just radiating off of those doors, being a tiny creature, in fact, is able to just kind of pop between the doors, no problem, and finds on the other side a chamber which is completely blackened with obsidian. This chamber appears to have at the center of it kind of like a mound of rocks that are placed one against the other, and from the top of that mound kind of bubbles and spews magma which slides down the side of it and oozes into these rivers which kind of drift slowly towards the edges of the room. When they meet the edge of the room, they start to eat into the walls, and you can see the walls in here are very, very rough and kind of melted away. The floor itself has grooves in it, as if to suggest these lava flows are kind of created, flow out from that central vent, it looks like, before drying and hardening, and then new kind of avenues and flows are created over the course of a long, you would suspect, period of time. Go ahead. Sorry, I thought one of you were going to say something. What would you like to do from this point? I was done. DM over and out.
I mean, I'll report all of this back very rudimentarily because, a Nut's can only communicate at whatever, a squirrel's, or it's not even a squirrel, whatever homunculus, can. So it's pretty simplistic explanation. The streams of lava and hot stuff, it seems. No more, there's nothing living, though, that they got no movement of anything.
Not that Nut can see.
Yeah, it's fine. There's nothing there. It's just lava. It'd be actually probably quite nice. It'd be like one of those saunas.
Yeah, there you go. The smoke will be good for your skin.
Yeah.
All I could do is a good hot soak. But no, if that is lava in there, perhaps we should go another way.
Do you think that the place you're looking for is here? In this tower, or is it elsewhere?
Is this a question to Juniper?
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. She looks at you and kind of shrugs. She's like, I don't know. It could be here. There could be something here. I mean, I feel like we have to search this place top to bottom, right? The clue in Hill Cult, the obsidian shard, we could have walked right past it and not thought anything of it. So anything could be useful here, I suppose. But again, I will defer to your judgment in safety.
Well, lava's like a flame, isn't it?
Selby, you said there was some runes on the doors that Nut went through. Can I move up and without having to climb over the rocks, just look at the door?
Yeah. As you approach and kind of look between the rocks, again, you could climb through them fairly easily. They don't go to the ceiling necessarily. Maybe just an area of difficult terrain for a medium creature. You can see, it's not super... Do furbolgs have dark vision?
No, but I have bonfire, so I can create a fire just in front of the door for some good light.
Yeah, absolutely no stress.
Alternatively, Iris can get out her torch. It's dark enough to warrant a torch, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get out my torch.
I see
Okay.
you get it out, and I very excitedly light it with Druidcraft. Oh, I've been waiting to do that all day. Oh.
Thanks. And I hold it out so that you can see the runes on the door.
Cool. The torch lights up in your grip. And as you hold it up to be able to see the door, you can see that it says in giant something to the effect of a fragment. The rolled R is particularly important in this. A fragment of power gifted from Velkund. Its fire shall guide the faithful to him.
Oh, well, that sounds like perhaps we should explore the lava rooms then.
I've reconsidered.
Maybe someone should swim down into the lava and see if there's a source.
I volunteer as tribute.
Oh, hang on. Just wait. We'll just be too. Just love the. I don't think. Maybe just mix your verbs up there slightly, Drew. I don't think one usually swims into lava. Not to be that
you
person, but
Don't
no,
have
not
to-
unless
I think
are you
we're
immune
allowed
to it.
But Selby, didn't you tell us that we could do anything?
It's true. If you believe in it, yeah. No, that's very true. I did say those exact words. It's more of a metaphor. I think we tried metaphor the other day, and I don't think it worked particularly well. It's
Remember,
more
Jack, you're possible.
Okay, I feel like my words are being taken out of context just slightly. But that's fine. Let's deal with the lava. Hands up if you're immune to fire. That's unfortunate. Selby looks at Juniper as well, just in case, like, Well, that's me done. Anyone else have any great ideas?
Just as an FYI, when Nuts comes back through the door, I'm assuming, unless you want to leave them in there, that's up to you.
No. They come to be all warm and toasty.
Nuts comes back out, and notes to you just finally that the far side of the door, like this gap is large enough that a small creature such as a halfling or gnome could squeeze through it, but a medium creature would not be able to. And the far side of the door is melted and kind of like fused to the floor, making it seem as if the door would be quite difficult to open.
Well, perhaps we should go south. See what was down that hallway before we make a decision.
Can't you earth the door or something? Can you not magic the door? I mean, it's...
My magic only works on loose soil. I cannot mold stone yet.
I could try and, like, push the door open.
You are as strong as iron, that is for sure.
I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna try and push the door open.
Inspiration. Okay. I'll inspire you.
How do you inspire?
Just finger guns. But like artificer ones that have like a little sparkler at the end. I've got like a little like magician thing.
Great, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pushing against the door.
Cool. As you approach, just fair warning to you, Takius, you put your hands up to kind of touch the door, and you can feel the heat just coming off the door like super intensely, like even before you've even touched it, like, the sort of heat that radiates out of an oven. Do you wish to proceed?
No, but what I might do is could I sort of like stick my longsword in the door and use that sort of like as leverage to possibly open it a little bit?
Possibly. Make for me an athletics check. You get to see the roll before you use the inspiration, is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
Oof, that is a 3 plus 6, so for a total of 9 plus a d6 for inspiration, is that right?
Yep.
It's not good. A 2. Oof, so only 11.
Cool. As you jam your greatsword in between and push against the door, you might give it a few minutes of kind of like pushing and pulling, and it does not budge at all. In fact, you can feel your greatsword, the great heat conductor of metal, start to warm up in your grip as well from contacting the door. It does not budge them whatsoever. Just you guys hear scraping of the metal on metal.
I don't think this door is going anywhere. Sorry, guys.
Oh, well, that was a nice try. Let's go check the other corridors. Who knows? Our big friend might be here. And maybe they can open it.
Sure, there'll be a back entrance somewhere. I mean, yeah, it's just such a shame that none of us could fit through that gap. That was just really disappointing.
Indeed. Can I look on the floor for, like, melted in the ice and snow footprints that maybe seem out of place against the rest of the iciness?
Okay. Make for me a perception check.
16.
Not in this corridor that you find.
Back in the main room with the.
Cool. Is everybody filing out, or people want to stay behind?
I'm definitely falling out.
Cool. Juniper kind of reluctantly, like, she looks at the door. She looks like a kid who's standing in a toy aisle, looking at like a toy, hoping that if they look sad enough, their parents will feel sorry for them and buy them the toy. And then eventually, when it's clear you guys are moving on, she peels out of the room, and you come back into that main room. And with your kind of eyesight down, you do indeed, Druid, spot what appears to be kind of old by now, but still present. It's like holes in the snow, or like, you know, little gaps in the snow that are roughly foot-shaped of ice that's kind of like filled in from, like, you know, you presume water, and then that having frozen back into ice that precede the footprints kind of go from, you know, around here somewhere, and then you spot like another one up here as they proceed northward.
Does anybody object to me quickly checking the south corridor for any possible clues or anything?
Okay. Be our guest.
I'm gonna just quickly check that south doesn't go anywhere unexpected.
It does not. As you poke your head down in this direction, you can see that it basically, and moving your token a little further than you might actually step, but just, it's quite easy. It's not dark in here because the sky above is open and there's a crack in the southern wall, and it basically looks exactly as you anticipated, the tower that the staircase wrapped itself around.
One quick look around for some mistletoe and back out.
Make a perception check for me.
19.
You stop,
This.
have a glance around, and spot no mistletoe, but the floor in here is very uneven. You note that, like, as if, like, you know, under the bricks of the tower, as it's kind of collapsed inwards, you'd have to pick your footing fairly carefully in here. There's a lot of snow that's fallen down into here as well, obviously. The first thing you spot is what looks like kind of the remains of an old campfire, just the stone rings unmistakably placed inside of you know, in a ring that would to contain a fire. Next to it, close by, you also spot what appears to be a knapsack, kind of half buried in the snow, directly next to the campfire. And then, as you continue to kind of glance around this room, suspecting that this was once a campsite of travelers, you also spot what appears to be like an old chest or crate, you know, like an old leather chest. Traveling trunk again placed against the other wall. Disappointingly, no mistletoe, so you file out, and I'm just kidding.
I'll open the trunk like, Selby, do you want to check that knapsack, see if there's perhaps a book?
I love books. That would be great. Do you just? I don't want to be again that person, but just sometimes I've read that, you know, one of the tropes is that, oh, you know, you open the chest and there's like a thing. So you might just want to just
I'll poke
you
it
can
with
do
my.
though.
I'll poke it with my staff.
Perfect. Yep. That's it.
Poking it with your staff, the trunk does not move or begin to move. As you approach Selby opening the knapsack, you find inside a couple of things, definitely from a traveller that has passed through here. The first is a bottle of ink. The second, a quill, a small knife. The ink bottle is frozen, like as you try to move the ink around, it's just like completely solid inside of it. You find a water skin that was also like solid and heavy, suggesting that the water is frozen inside. You spot a diamond kind of pulling that out from within, and this diamond looks like it's worth at least 62 gold or something like that. I know that was a very specific number for from how much this diamond was worth. And then perhaps to Selby's joy, just going on what you just said, you do find in fact the leather bound pages of a book, pulling them out from inside, very, very stiff. Yeah.
Drew, you were right. There's a book. It's amazing. Well, I haven't opened it yet, but I'm very excited.
Has it got that new book smell?
No.
It just
got,
smells like ice.
Old book smell.
It smells like damp parchment and possibly mold. That was probably not a healthy thing to do. How goes the chest?
Yeah, what's in this chest?
As you crack open the chest, it appears to be made of like pig hide or something like that, and it crackles and the hinges kind of snap as you force it open. Again, just kind of frozen solid. Inside, you pull out pretty unmistakably a potion of healing. The potion of healing appears frozen at the moment, but you think that if you slowly heated it, you could probably melt it back and still be usable. You also find inside an arms box filled with 24 gold. It's kind of like a little priest's box. And you can see that on the top of it, the top of the box kind of branches around, like it's like a netted top that is shaped like tree branches connecting together to form the lid. Inside, you can hear it kind of rattling with gold coins inside. You find a bottle of incense. You find a little cluster of diamonds within a pouch worth, I don't know, 97 gold pieces. And you also find like another little wooden box that's got a latch on it. This is not locked. And so as you unlatch and open it, you find inside 3 kind of parchments scrolled up. And with a ribbon that kind of goes around each of them.
Do they seem like scrolls of magic?
They could be, for sure, if you open up one of them and look at them. And I'm just quickly going to check the druidic spell list. These are definitely, like when you open them up, they're written in common and they actually look more like prayers. Prayers to the sun goddess Alessia, kind of asking for strength, asking for power to, burn away enemies of justice, to cure the wounds of someone who is in need. So one spell scroll functionally is of cure wounds, which you can read. Another one is of healing word, which you can read also. Third one is flaming sphere, which I have to imagine you can also read. Yes, you can. And then the final one, which I'm not sure that you would be able to read. The prayer, like the words in the prayer, kind of ask for protection from the goddess. But in terms of how to cast the spell, you're not sure about this last one. Probably a magical instruction that Druid is not familiar with.
Awesome. Hey Selby, I found some cool shit too.
Yay!
P.S. We're rich.
Wait, we're going to share that, right? That's for us too. We share that.
Oh, of course. I found 14 gold.
Make a sleight of hand check.
Nah, I'm just joking. I wouldn't do that. That's me, Felix. That's not true.
I'm an asshole, not my character.
Character's very nice.
Awesome. That last spell scroll, do I happen to know what it is at all?
Yeah, I'll definitely show it.
You do not know.
No.
In fact, you can read Healing Word. I don't believe you can read the Cure Wounds. Basically, my the way that spells. I'm pretty sure there's a way it's written in the DMG, but if it's not, then it's my homebrew. But I think it's the DMG. If it's not on your spell list, you can't read the scroll. It basically is unintelligible to you. These scrolls, again, being written out as prayers. You definitely get the sense, Druid, that these were written by somebody of faith, right? Like this is divine magic rather than arcane magic. But just can't tell, like you would not be able to cast the final spell, and so do not know what it does. In the northern chamber, are we waiting patiently? Are we hopping from one foot to the other?
Yeah, Iris is just standing there with her arms folded, just going... looking at her non-existent sundial on her wrist, and just... any second now.
I'm assuming the group reuniting.
Yeah. We would come back pretty, I think, fast-paced walking, like
Sure.
cow walking.
Sure, gotcha.
Our first loot.
Hey.
What did
Where
you
is
find?
it? I don't see a stringed instrument on you.
Oh, actually.
Oh, there it is.
I don't really play it. I'm not one of the. My music teacher made me take it when I got my bardic, when I learnt how to do magic, but I don't really like the lute. I think it's a bit. Ugh. You know, when you first learn to play it, it just sounds really shit. So I just leave it back there. But anyway.
You can always
and
leave it
the
at home.
loot?
I could, but I'm hoping that sometimes you just practice more, and I've been really hoping that on the road I'd be able to practice. It turns out I don't want to, though, so... Anyway, we found this. As we... yeah. Sure, I would have started hoping, I think I would have at least cracked open that book and started to, on the walk back, done that, early high school student that just doesn't leave their nose out of the book.
Do you speak Elvish?
No, the first time ever.
You don't. You recognize the language probably, but you don't recognize. You're not able to read it.
I do have comprehend languages. Oh, does anyone else speak Elvish before I try and?
I am familiar with the Elvish.
Of course. Well,
I'm starting to think you can talk to everything. You can
Yeah.
talk to
I tried.
trees, you can talk to animals, you can speak giant.
As you look through this scroll, or this book, sorry, I should say, you come kind of across like 3 or the last couple of entries in it which are legible. The others kind of like the ink is faded from the book freezing, and then, as you crack it open, Selby, some of the pages might even just break out entirely and shatter. I've thrown the kind of parts that can be read for you, Druid, into our Discord chat for your dramatic rendition if Druid reads these out loud.
I'm not sure if I'm in that chat.
Liveplay chat, which is a little bit above where we are.
Ooh, okay. Questing after Velkan's treasure. We wandered through the forest for many days to find this place. I thought it not possible, but the weather grows colder every day. And there are creatures amongst the trees that stalk us like hungry shadows. They hound us like the winds do, or else my mind has completely slipped into madness. Even our Titan counterpart's unshakable courage has become overwhelmed with anxiety. She speaks of a monster who shepherds these creatures amongst the trees, which she calls the Wodan. The next part that I can make out is studied the carving closely. I'm beginning to suspect that the vault is not here, but this place gestures towards its true location. The northern chamber's receptacle seems to be in want of energy. I have tried casting spells at it which provokes reaction, but the momentary effects from a bolt of fire more powerful archings do not appear sufficient to energize whatever purpose the chamber has. Evidently, a sustained magical phenomenon is required. Oh, that is perfect. Shall we go north into this room and try and trigger whatever this switch is with some magic?
Sure. I mean, if that's what it's saying that we is that all it says? That's the whole.
That's all that I can make out on these last few pages.
Oh.
Including all those words that were run together for some reason. I have no idea why that happened. They were like 5 words, all just without spaces.
Yeah.
All good. Is that what? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it said scorching rays do not appear sufficient.
Well, you have magic.
I do.
Sakias, do you kind of have? I mean, I've seen you create a storm, so I'm assuming that you must also have studied the arcane.
No, that just happens.
That also. So you didn't have to study for that. That just cool. No, that's totally normal.
Yeah, I've always been able to do it since I was a teenager.
So that's so good for you. That's so awesome. That's great. That's so excellent. Iris, again, I mean, it turns out maybe you don't have to study. Maybe it's just me here, I'm the outlier, but...
No, whatever I can do that isn't just smashing things, I've been able to do for a very, very long time. I don't even remember how I got it.
Right, but again, so magic that's not through study, that's just innate, just naturally gifted.
Oh, did you have to study for your magic?
Yeah, it's really funny.
Oh, that's unfortunate. And Iris starts walking up north.
As Iris walks away, Juniper turns quickly to Selby and just says, "You're gifted in other ways," and turns around and follows. As the party
just mutters to himself, "I'm glad I didn't have to study. I can barely read."
As you approach Northwood, as mentioned earlier, the corridor on the right-hand side opens out into what appears to be a very large chamber, kind of receding back into darkness at a bit of an angle. You can see runes kind of on the floor. You can see it also looks like it's suffered some level of collapse. In design, it kind of reminds you of the great halls of the Yothnar that you descended through when you travelled through the Sentinel back in January, but a week ago in game time. And then the northern chamber, which is kind of open. You can see runes are also scrawled on the ground in there, and what appears to be some sort of plinth in the centre of the room. Grey light comes into this chamber, and just from this point as you've approached it, you can see that like the ceiling must be very high, as you cannot see the ceiling above on the far wall as you come up from beneath the threshold. What do you wish to do? Where do you wish to go?
Well, I feel like we must surely read the runes in the right-hand room.
Sure, I'll come with you and provide light.
Oh, thank you very much.
Cool. Move as a party, or are you two going a little bit ahead?
I'd go with them.
Yeah.
Moving as a party.
Yep, cool, no problem. As you move up there and Juniper comes in, and Juniper's like a puppy, as she bounces up and down as you come into this very large chamber. Runes kind of scattered upon the floor, and you can also see that this giant-sized hall would have once been incredibly grand to behold. Now it sits in complete ruins. The pillar that once held aloft the ceiling now lays smashed upon the floor, and the walls of the chamber are lined with cracks like arching thunderbolts, particularly across on the southern side. Those with dark vision, I'm just moving the tokens down so you can see the walls kind of collapsed down entirely. On the walls themselves are these massive stone reliefs carved deeply into the wall, creating these huge, 20-foot tall images. And as the campfire, or the torchfire rather, passes across the top of these reliefs, you can see that the way the flame kind of causes the shadows to dance almost makes these things look like they're animated as you look at them. The one that's immediately to your left as you first come into the chamber, you see that on the left side of the relief is an image of broad-shouldered figures that are possibly meant to be Yothnar or Titans, Frost Giants, or Goliaths. You're not quite sure which, as they both have kind of elements of both. But they are kneeling down, heads bowed, kind of in deference. And then across the other side, on the right-hand side of the relief, you can see a pillar of fire that reaches all the way to the ceiling. But there is a figure carved inside of the flames, as if there is a figure on fire that stands over the Yothnar kneeling in the image. As you look across the wall to the next one is a very similar relief that has the kneeling Yothnar or Titans, except this time, instead of kneeling in deference, they are on their knees, but they raise weapons above their heads, axes and swords, and raising shields as well. And at the front of their sort of crowd, the Yothnar are rising to their feet as if they're kind of at the front of a charge, and that, they're the ones at the front are on their feet, the ones just behind are half knelt, the ones just behind are starting to get up. On the opposite side is once again that pillar of flame, a figure kind of inside of it, but its hands are forward and fire kicks across the bottom of the relief, as if sweeping up against those Yothnar that are revolting against it. Do you wish to see further into the chamber?
Finally, some pictures.
Druid, do the runes on the floor mean anything?
Oh, let me see. What's the general meaning of those?
As you come into the chamber to investigate a little bit further and look at the runes, again, these runes are fairly faded. Some of them look like they're incomplete or are cracked. Maybe foot traffic once upon a time kind of wore them down. So it's not perfect in your understanding. It's also a very old kind of giant dialect that makes it, it's kind of like, almost Latin to English. I'm sure that's a terrible analogy, but you can still get the gist of it. Basically suggesting that the pillar of fire, the figure inside the pillar of fire, is Velkund is your best kind of bet, and you see runes that may mean Velkund, or they mean fire, perhaps. And that the Yothnar kneeling were kind of his kin, and then they revolted up against him. And this kind of changes the story a little bit to your understanding of it. The story is that kings from outside of Velkund's country invaded in vengeance of him stealing their gold. The runes on the ground against the reliefs on the walls seem to be suggesting that his own people rose up against him, and not kings from exterior to his country. You can see the third relief a little bit further into the chamber has a Yothnar kind of central to it, wielding a battle axe kind of raised above his head, and with his other hand he grapples the fiery kind of figure. That figure fights back, but it has these deep carvings into it as if wounds dealt by the battle axe, and beneath it kind of drop these teardrops of flame as if blood from its wounds. The mountains are carved into the backgrounds of these reliefs, and wherever these drops of flame kind of fall and sit, they become little pillars of flame themselves across the landscape. And then turning your heads to the final relief on this side, which stretches the entire stretch of the wall, it shows the outspread wings of a dragon that breathes flame towards the bottom of the relief and sweeps outwards. There are Yothnar which stand kind of at the bottom of that relief, but those that the fire kind of passes across are skeletons within the flames.
Oh, it seems like there is much more to this place and this story than we first anticipated.
We heard mention of a dragon before. Or had that come up at all before?
Make a history check for me, Selby.
Ooh. Hey, I have something with this because of my something. Hang on.
Because of my thing. The thing that I do.
No. Artificer law, add twice your proficiency bonus to history checks related to, is it a magic item, an alchemical object, or a technological device?
It is not, unfortunately. I wouldn't classify it as any of those things.
That's fine then. I would just go straight history. It's still +5. 17.
Okay, well, why did you go, ew, 17's great.
Well, a +5 though. That should
okay.
be, 25.
You have indeed, whether you heard, you might have heard it in Hill Cult, or possibly you heard it beforehand on your way here. Maybe in a village way back south of the Winter Ranges when you were heading into this region, or maybe somewhere else in your life you've heard the tale of Sigurd the Fire Breather. Same sort of region. It's a myth that comes from the same area as Velkund Fireblood. And basically the legend is that Sigurd was a dragon that kind of terrorized the Winter Ranges, and that Frastir, the hero, slew Sigurd kind of on behalf of everyone. You know, there's this mighty kind of almost like Beowulf versus the dragon that Beowulf killed kind of story. The kind of key thing about the legend that sparks your memory is you look at the image of the Pillar of Flame grapple with the Yothnar with the axe. It kind of looks like that legend, and as you see the teardrops of flame kind of hit the mountainscape in the background and they erupt into flame, it reminds you of the part of the legend that wherever Sigurd was injured, wherever his blood fell, created lava vents and lava flows and hot springs and things like that across the Winter Ranges. You were perhaps told that this legend is, I can't remember whether you guys made it down there or not, I don't believe you did, but in Hill Cult you might have heard that the hot spring that's beneath the Obsidian Temple is supposed to have been one of these places where the blood of Sigurd the Fire Breather fell during his battle with Frastir.
Cool. I would definitely regale my learned retellings to everyone.
Oh, is that what you learned at your magic school?
Yep. Yeah, no, a lot of literature, just a lot of, and then we would talk about like what it all meant and like, what was the author trying to convey in the text sometimes, and really try and get in the mind of the author and where the stories came from. It was a lot of just discussions, really.
Juniper pipes up. She says, what the author intended, my dear girl, the author dies the moment that the text is interpreted by somebody else.
Amazing. And we just start having like a full-on like lit conversation. A lit conversation. Yeah, great. Amazing.
Well, seems we have learned a lot in this room. Shall we move on?
Back to the northern chamber?
Yeah.
Cool. As you make your way kind of back up into that chamber, indeed, this room appears to be an enclosed chamber. There doesn't appear to be any, other doors or ways out of here that you can see. However, the chamber, as you come into it, is just a huge shaft that goes upwards and disappears above you into kind of nothing above. There's like a dispersed kind of grey light, almost like light at the end of the tunnel, but it's so high above that, it must be really in the distance. You can't like kind of discern a solid exit point. But nevertheless, when you come into this chamber, flakes of snow kind of drift downwards very slowly and just kind of collects in small areas inside the chamber in the very corners of it. The giant runes on the floor, these are more arcane in nature, so Druid, as you kind of look at them and try to discern them, they sort of say, something along the lines of ascend to see the path to Velkund Fireblood. Not a literal translation, but kind of like what you get from it when you look at the runes and try to gauge meaning from them.
Well, acting upon what we read on the last page of that journal, I think everyone should stand back, and I will attempt to put some fire on this plinth. And I'll cast Create Bonfire on there, which is sustained flame on concentration.
Yeah, cool. No problem. You conjure your bonfire, which appears in the center of the plinth. And as that fire is lit, pretty quickly afterwards, the runes on the floor of the room light up. And as they do, you feel a kind of like shake of the room. It almost feels, to begin with, like an earthquake. Until there's a jolt and each of your knees are almost driven up into your rib cage as this thing just lurches upwards kind of suddenly and then slowly begins to grind with the sound of breaking stone upwards.
Oh, is this an elevator? I believe I have heard of these.
Why don't they just call it a lift? It's going up.
I think that is pronunciation from another country. Like the difference between the boot of a wagon and the trunk of a wagon.
As the lift, if you prefer, ascends upwards, it takes you into a closed area. The shaft kind of closing around you as the door disappears beneath you and continues to rise. Oops, I didn't want to move the map. I'm just going to pause that there. Kind of rise and grumble beneath you as it does so. Druid, you need to remain kind of concentrating on that spell for a bit of time. But as you hear kind of like cracking stone, I need Selby to make for me a dexterity save.
Ooh, 3.
As the stone beneath you just breaks away, creating a dead drop back down towards the floor. You begin to fall and kind of catch yourself like at the last second, but your feet are dangling off down below and you feel your grip starting to struggle. What does everybody else do?
I'm gonna dive over and grab Selby.
Okay, cool. Make for me an athletics check.
15?
Okay. So I wouldn't commonly ask someone this, but if you had to describe Selby's weight on a scale from 1 to 20, where do you think it would kind of sit? 1 to 25 even.
I would say definitely like probably between 5 and 10, because she's a gnome. So,
okay. Oops.
You know.
Hold still there. Yeah, cool. Absolutely. That is definitely enough for you to kind of run over, grab Selby by the hands. Where do you want to drag them to?
I'm gonna drag her sort of back over the lip and maybe like another 5 feet back from...
Like to there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. As you move backwards to there, can I get Iris to make a dexterity save?
Good lord. Nope. That's a 4.
Okay. The floor next to you busts open and breaks and crumbles away. The elevator kind of hitches and lurches as it does. You topple down kind of 1 foot and your torch falls out. You lose your grip on it and it just disappears down into the darkness, disappearing the 100 feet that you are now up in the air. You manage to catch yourself with one hand kind of hanging there. What does everybody want to do?
Little help here, please.
Yeah, I'll hold down my staff for her to grab onto.
Yeah.
And haul her back up.
Okay. Using that, can I get Iris actually to make an athletics check, but go with advantage for the help offered by Druid?
12?
Yes, that is enough. Between the two of you, you manage to get dragged back up onto the lip of this thing. Can I get Tacius with advantage for danger sense to make for me a dex save? As a rather large kind of chunk drops away behind you.
18.
You are kind of well aware that this is happening. You feel the stone loosen behind your foot. Step to the side right as the stone drops away on the other side as well, leaving you on this sort of narrow platform. The lift lurches, kind of stops momentarily, and then jolts again, begins to rise, and an area in the north corner drops away as well, leaving a very tenuous looking platform around you all as the different parts of it fall away, but then it kind of evens out and there's no more resistance. And as it continues upwards, the only things that fall away are sort of crumbling rock until about 10 minutes later, the air gets cold and you emerge up the top on the peak of the mountain, it seems. Standing kind of in an enclosed or a semi-enclosed chamber, but to the east, stairs lead downwards onto a large platform that Iris, you can see kind of being closest on that side, looks like a large observation deck. It's like 2 rooms placed together, connected by steps that go down, but the far wall of the other chamber is missing, giving you this breathtaking view of the surrounding mountains.
Cool. Well, I don't want to be on that platform anymore, so I'm going to hop onto the stairs.
Cool.
Nope the hell out of there.
Cool.
Yeah, follow too.
Tacius is doing the same and making sure Juniper gets down safely as well.
Yeah, no stress. Juniper, Tacius, Selby. How did Selby go after the fun ride?
Super great. Just there's no link between, I couldn't see it quick enough, there weren't similar runes, like, it doesn't now spell out, I kind of want to grab, like, Drew for us to just check that, like, now that certain ones have gone, it's not like an anagram or, like, you know.
If I could break the fourth wall momentarily, I wish I'd thought of that. But no, Druid, as Druid kind of glances at it, it does not appear to be any sort of anagram.
Oh, is that what, now that it is half broken, kind of makes the symbol for poop? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I write it down just in case. I'm sure that'll come back later.
No, instead, just using Iris's token for the moment, you can see that it basically gives you a view of the surrounding landscape. As I said, the mountains stretching away from you to your east, kind of straight ahead of you, in fact. You can see the forest that you have just come through. Just beyond that, the smallest dark circle, which is Hill Cult, and then the marbleized lake that is beyond Hill Cult. You can see the Sentinel, the massive mountain in the south that you guys passed through to reach Hill Cult in the first place. This gives you like a stunning view of pretty much the entire valley as you come forward into the area. You can also see on the floor a series of what appear like the floor is carved into concentric circles. Deep engravings that create patterns on the floor, but at first glance seem basically nonsensical.
Can I do an intelligence check? Because I'm pretty... Oh, I don't know if this is metagaming or not, but, like, I feel like Selby would instantly go and see what lines could possibly match up with stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Make an intelligence check for me.
Because it looks like... Plus 3. Oh, 6.
You can see that while there is snow kind of, coating across the top of this thing, the concentric circles do have grooves between them deep enough that you suspect they actually would be rotatable. You can't see what the image would be without having rotated them first, though. But possibly you're onto something.
What is that you're doing, Selby?
Okay, so right, when I was at school, which apparently no one else went to, but there's this thing, right, where we used to do these, like, logic puzzles, and it's, like, to kind of help, like, with problem solving and things, and I feel like that if we just moved all these discs in a certain way, that they would, like, show something. Like, maybe a phrase, or, like, a picture.
Oh, that's
Can we...
Rolls up his sleeve and is like, just show me which way to turn him.
Well, do they look like they can actually... They don't look like you can tug them, right, like to move them. There's that thing in the middle.
No, they kind of... Oh, I always forget to describe that, but you guys can see it plainly. They kind of look like they could be moved. You know, like, I don't know if you guys have ever done, like, high school theatre or community theatre, like the rostra, that aren't high-tech enough, like the big theatres, but you basically have to just, like, put your hands on them and run, and that rotates them. That's what these things kind of look like, how they'll function. Selby's like, I remember when I was studying in school from my community theatre that they had there. It was kind of like that. Yeah. In the center, just for the record, it looks like there's a brazier. The brazier has on top of it this stone, kind of like a sunstone or something like that. It's like it doesn't look like it's like diamond or anything that precious, but looks kind of like a semi-transparent crystal. Quite heavy too, kind of set over the brazier.
I'll go and inspect that thing for sure.
Cool. You get up there, take a look at it, make for me an Arcana check. Definitely magical. You can see the giant runes, which are quite small actually, but nevertheless written in giant, kind of around the ring. Sorry?
Detect magic. Racial feature.
There is evocation magic emanating from the brazier.
Ooh, that's like fireball and stuff, right?
Yeah. Or just like conjuring elements and energy.
Oh, this brazier in the middle seems to be able to or want to receive some energy. Shall I try to light a fire on it again?
Please, yeah.
I'll take a step back and do create bonfire on it again.
Okay, cool. As you step back from the platform and cast create bonfire, you see kind of like the strangest effects. First, the fire appears and lights the crystal in a way that you can see the light bouncing around inside of the crystal, but then it's like a vacuum at the bottom of your bonfire. It just kind of crunches down into itself and is dispelled. You suspect an effect of the brazier itself.
Oh, very interesting.
Did you read the runes?
The runes basically amount, like they're arcane sigils, they're not words necessarily. In giant nonetheless, but tell Druid exactly what he needs to know about this thing.
Let us try and solve this puzzle then and turn these discs.
Cool.
So, if we start, maybe I can see there's like really where the dark bits are, and just Selby goes into like project manager. Like, she could pull out a hard hat right now, she would.
Yeah.
Is there a roof above us?
There is no roof above you, no.
I'll roll up my metaphorical sleeves and assist Tack for moving these rings.
Okay.
Tack's just like going to run around and move them as Selby is instructing him.
Cool. I'll start with either the furthest outside or the furthest inside. You just tell me whether you want me to rotate it or move to the next one.
Okay, so if anyone else has input, but what I was trying to do is I wanted to put the really dark, I don't know how to describe, the really dark part that kind of put them together to form like a line.
The ones that look like legs or tree limbs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Going into this middle one here, rotating it around first to there. The stones kind of align and lock into place, and then just the center one doesn't seem to make much sense.
Okay. All right, then the center one, the little part on the on the 7, like on a clock, if it could...
Like there?
I have a lag because I'm
Are you upside down?
No, because I've got the I'm using my phone because it's easier to see.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So can you
Yeah,
see
I'm pretty
the
sure.
little blue like triangle at the top of the?
Yes.
Yeah. So 7 o'clock from there would be like over here. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So sorry, as if the little blue triangle is 12 o'clock, and then there's like that. I just saw it ping that.
Yeah. So
But
you want just so I understand, you want this part here to be up here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless if anyone else has any.
I think at like 2:30 on the clock.
Yep.
It
Here.
looks like the
2:35?
start, of the wibbly wobblies at 9 o'clock on the outer rings. So we
Okay.
want to turn 3 o'clock into 9 o'clock.
Okay. Cool. Those rings begin to rotate around, and as they sit into that space, all of the rings begin to rotate together around, shifting the stone. And as they lock into place, the rings rise, creating steps with the plinth at the top of it, with the brazier. Fire lights beneath the brazier, and as it does, it is focused through the crystal, creating a beam of light that shoots out towards the horizon. And as you look and follow the line of the beam, it looks out into the distance towards a volcano that looks much like the one in the image, far in the distance north of where Hillcult is, among the mountains. And that is where we're going to end our adventure for tonight. Thank you so much again, guys, for playing. I had a lot of fun tonight. I hope you did too. Thank you so much, everyone on the stream who followed along with us. I really appreciate you taking the time. I hope it was entertaining for everybody. Don't forget, we will be back 6 o'clock next Sunday, Australian Eastern Standard Time, same as this week, same bat time, same bat channel. Don't sue me, Kevin Smith. And we hope to see you there as well, because we will be closing out Vault of the Living Flame with part 3. I haven't written subtitles yet. Hope to see you guys there, and I look forward to it. Ciao.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, team.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.